Roger, be on the horizon. You're surrounded by journalists. Hold your position.
Overnight success. The Laser 3000. Double blade. Right. Let's misinformation.
Market clearing order inbound.
That's just wrong.
You're surrounded by journalists. Hold your position.
Come, get up. Trust the experts. Vibe coding. We are experts. Founder mode. Vibe coding.
I see multiple journalists on the horizon. Stand by.
Experts.
UAV online.
Glaze. Double glaze. Triple glaze. Double kill. Five coats. Raw. Pump is up. Glaze.
Team deathmatch.
We are experts. Triple glaze. That's just wrong. Right.
Market clearing order inbound.
Come, get up.
You're surrounded by journalists. Hold your position.
Strike one. Strike two. Activate Golden Retriever mode. Trust the experts.
Market clearing order inbound.
Vibe coded.
That's a narrative violation.
Cortisol spike.
Another one. I see multiple journalists on the horizon. Stand by.
You're watching TBPN. That voice changer does not work. It's too much. It's Tuesday, July 7th, 2026. We're live from the TBPN Ultradome, the Temple of Technology, the Fortress of Finance,
The
capital of Invest
capital.
Like the Best watch streams. We got Invest Like the Best on in the background. Do we have audio? No. but does it matter? No.
No, it's
As
just
Jeremy
as
says.
compelling with the sound off.
Yes, it is. As I heard Jeremy talk about, there's a lot of episodes that people don't even watch, and yet they are the most impactful things in the entire world. It's a great episode. We threw it on the big screen as sort of a joke. Oh, it's funny to watch a podcast on a massive screen like it's a World Cup game.
Appointment viewing.
I couldn't turn it off. I kept getting sucked back into it. Fantastic episode. Jeremy and Patrick, always fun in conversation. Also, the best part of that episode, there's a ramp ad in it. We got a ramp ad for you here, too. Time is money. Save both. These are your corporate cards, bill pay, accounting, and a whole lot more, all in one place. But the actual news.
Well, should we talk about the show?
Yeah, talk about the show.
Alex Hormozi in the Ultradome.
In the Ultradome.
Live in person. We're going to be talking about bro splits,
Yes.
agents, mindset,
Everything.
content, community, sales, pricing.
So Hormozi and I both started our YouTube channels the same year, within like a couple months of each other. And we were both doing like somewhat businessy content. Obviously, I was focused around like Silicon Valley history, and he was doing more like coaching small business, scale ups, growth stuff. And he just absolutely destroyed me. It was insane because I think I had like maybe 10,000 followers, and I saw his account when he had like 5,000 followers. And then he just went on this absolute run to get millions and millions of subscribers. And I plateaued at like a couple 100K. And I was like, he's just built different.
A few hundred.
Few hundred.
450K.
Yeah, 450K. Not bad. I mean,
Honest
I'm
work.
proud of the channel. Honest work. A lesson in total addressable market there. His
It's interesting
content
because
went everywhere. But seriously, he took it so much more seriously than me. He had a whole team. He was putting up multiple hour videos every single day, short form, Instagram. He really understood how to be a media company, whereas I was just like, nah, this is just my blog.
Bigger TAM.
Yep.
And better execution.
100%.
I mean, it's worth saying.
It's just actually true, and I mean it's a testament to he was basically
really
he was
said-
full time
he
on
really
it,
said
and I
there's
was
levels, little
there's
bro.
levels, yeah, exactly. And I was like, we both started around the same time. We're both taking this pretty seriously. Nope. Yeah, it was really, really good. It was fun to watch. So he's been on an absolute run, set the world record for fastest book sales ever, something like that. A huge record on becoming. He has a Guinness Book world record for how successful his book launch was. And
Really?
Yes. No. This is true. It's on the wiki. I don't know if I have the actual stat here. Let me pull up the actual stat. So he broke the Guinness Book world record for fastest selling nonfiction book last year, August 16th, 2025. His book, $100 Million Money Models, officially sold, 2.9 million copies within the first 24 hours. That is insane, generating over $100 million in total launch.
Read me the title again.
It's called $100 Million Money Models. And it generated over
Powerful.
$100 million in total in the total launch.
Manifested.
Yes, he did manifest it. It's a wild story. He has so many different anecdotes to share. He's a fantastic podcast guest wherever he is appearing, and we're very excited to have him join the show today.
23 minutes.
Before we
For now.
get into the news, let me tell you about CrowdStrike. Your business is AI, their business is securing it. CrowdStrike secures AI and stops breaches. So the big news of the day is that China is taking a page out of Washington's playbook, potentially, and aiming to limit the export of AI models. Now, these are just meetings at this point, but Chinese authorities have reportedly, this is according to Reuters, held meetings with some of the country's top tech firms. That's Alibaba, ByteDance, Z.AI, DeepSeek, Highflyer, not mentioned yet, but you have to imagine that they'll be in the conversation if they aren't already, about potentially restricting overseas access to China's most advanced models. So they're thinking about doing the same thing that's happening with GPT 5.6, Sol, Ultra, Mythos, Fable, all these different models that are starting to get more restricted as they get more powerful. The government wants a say in what companies and what non-governmental organizations, what governmental organizations have access to them. So the discussions are still preliminary.
And when did, in AI 2027, did China wake up?
Right around this time. Right around this time.
Mid-2026.
I actually have
Prediction.
on my calendar, check on Jack Clark for today because last year, December 23rd, Jack Clark predicted that there would be big changes and acceleration in mid-2026. He said, so by summer of 2026, it will be as though the digital world is going through some kind of fast evolution, with some parts of it emitting a huge amount of heat and light and moving with counterintuitive speed relative to everything else. Great fortunes will be won and lost here, and the powerful engines of our silicon creation will be put to work, further accelerating this economy and further changing things. Do you think that's where we are? Is that an accurate assessment of mid-2026? When I saw this prediction, I put a calendar reminder for mid-2026. We're right in the middle of the year, and I wanted to check in and say, does it feel like this? Obviously, this is not a quantitative benchmark. This is a qualitative feeling. Fast evolution, emitting a huge amount of heat and light, moving with counterintuitive speed relative to everything else. Great fortunes certainly are being won and lost every day in the market. Tyler, how would you assess the amount of heat and light emitting from some parts of the digital world? Would you say it's huge?
I would say it's huge. I think it's
huge.
It's kind of hard. Like, I feel like I've been like very tapped in for like a long time, so it's hard to say like.
You've been feeling the
It's hard to see like an outside view is like, oh, is this actually like, has there been a big change like recently?
Yes. So there's two things. Like one,
It's been kind of like a personal thing for you, being so tapped in. Would you say that?
So there's two things going on. One is that anyone
AGI
who has
been like a personal thing for Tyler. He's been so tapped in for so long. It's like,
it's true. It's true.
So much of news coming out of DC
of
the past like 2-3 months has been about AI, which
Yes,
is like definitely was not true.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
even earlier this year, I would say.
Yes, and the just the amount of heat and light around cybersecurity issues, the coding models, the agentic capabilities, the revenues that we would see in enterprise, those have not been a shock to AI insiders who have been tracking the capabilities of these models since last October or even last summer. When models started, when vibe coding was coined by Andre Karpathy, and coding became, not solved, but, greatly enhanced by artificial
and so going back
intelligence.
to AI 2027,
Yes.
which was published April 3rd,
Yes.
2025. By late 2026, mid 2026 was China Wakes Up. In China, the CCP is starting to feel the AGI. Export controls and lack of government support have left China under-resourced compared to the West. I'm going to fast forward a little bit. Hawks in the CCP warn that the growing race towards AGI can no longer be ignored. So they finally commit to the big AI push that they had previously tried to avoid. He sets in motion the nationalization of Chinese AI research, creating an information-sharing mechanism for AI companies. So right now, they're just looking at export controls.
Feels like we're a little bit behind on this.
It's possible the CCP is just reading this as a guide and just implementing it. They're just planning to implement it to a T.
Thanks for the
Just
guide.
like, yeah, thanks.
Did my job
Thanks for the
me.
playbook.
Yeah.
You should have billed me for it.
Yeah, no, the real 4D chess here is to shame the CCP into not copying off of AI 2027, saying, oh, really? You're just doing the AI 2027 thing? Come on, you don't need to invest in AI. Don't be mimetic with our philosophers' literature and our most popular podcasts over here in America. Think of your own strategy. Come on, do whatever. No. So the discussions around AI export controls in China are still preliminary, and it isn't clear how Beijing could claw back access to models that they've already released. If they're on Hugging Face, you can download them, you can run them. And even if they had some sort of intellectual property, they could sue an open source inference provider for running Kimi or something like that. That feels really difficult to do from Beijing. But there are other implications. So once open weight models are posted publicly, of course, they can be copied, mirrored, downloaded, reused anywhere, fine-tuned. But there are several ways China could restrict future frontier models before they leave the country. At the latest end, Beijing could require companies to file future releases with regulators or submit them for national security review before publishing model weights. A more aggressive version would require government approval before any advanced model could be released overseas. And at the most restrictive end, China could simply ban the public release of frontier open weight models. They could say no more open sourcing. Although the game theory there is a little odd because it feels like the fact that China has been open sourcing near frontier capabilities has been to China's benefit. In general, because it creates like more disturbances. Like the DeepSeek moment was definitely good for China.
Pricing pressure.
Yeah, pricing pressure. So they could limit these to state-approved customers or Chinese government priorities, which at a certain level might just be the most important thing to do. The RSI loop, of course, you want all of the GPUs that you have focusing on advancing the frontier internally as opposed to sending it off to America. The talks come as the U.S. is also moving toward tighter control of frontier AI. The Trump administration recently restricted access to Anthropic's most advanced models, Fable 5 and Mythos 5, before later lifting some of those controls after additional safety mitigations. OpenAI has also reportedly faced government pressure around the rollout of its next frontier models. The issue has become more urgent because Chinese open weight models are increasingly competitive. Z.AI's GLM 5.2 in particular recently impressed Silicon Valley by performing close to leading U.S. models at a much lower cost. The Qwen family of models from Alibaba has also become one of the most important open model ecosystems in the world, while ByteDance's Daobao is one of China's most widely used domestic AI systems. Oh, I didn't know about that. If China places export controls on future frontier models, it could raise costs for American AI users and companies because it's obviously very beneficial to have a great open source model available to you. And use them for lower stakes tasks while reserving expensive U.S. frontier models for their most important workloads. If the best Chinese models are no longer freely available abroad, some of that cheap model supply disappears, but you have to ask what happens to Meta. Do other labs start piling back into the open source ecosystem and more, or will all the demand just go straight back to the frontier labs?
It really
That's
sucks
the
you
question.
in.
It really does.
sucks
It
you
really does. We should play some clips because
We need to
Jeremy
be thinking
went
about
on
podcast
absolute
safety
tear.
because this is an addictive.
There should be export controls
episode.
on this. It should be only available to American citizens. They should. Patrick should
even
be doing
though
KYC.
even though one of the
One of
the
the
guys over
guests
there is Canadian,
yes, but maybe North America. Let's pull up a clip from this. I wanna hear Jeremy chat about all sorts of things. They go all over. Where in the timeline is?
Well,
the
should we talk about
actual-
SK Hynix's new listing?
Yes, we can run through that and then we can pull up.
SK Hynix is set to raise around $28 billion in a NASDAQ share sale this week, potentially one of the largest ever New York listings by an Asian company. The South Korean memory chip maker is already public in Seoul, where its stock is up more than 750% over the past year.
150%.
But the U.S. listing gives American investors an easier way in. The story is big on the timeline because situational awareness, the hedge fund run by Leopold Aschenbrenner, may participate alongside Bally Gifford and Co. too. Together, the firms could take as much as $7 billion of the deal. SK Hynix has become one of the purest AI infrastructure plays because it leads in HBM, has become a key NVIDIA partner, and now has a market cap around $1.1 trillion.
Which is like a quadrillion won.
Yeah, that's a lot.
When you look it up, it's very confusing. I think
It's a lot.
the business is ripping. 2025 revenue grew 47% to 63 billion. Profit more than doubled, 28 billion in profit. Q1 revenue tripled year over year. But interestingly, the stock only trades at 7x forward earnings because memory is brutally cyclical, and there's still a lot of people that are wondering what happens if there's another leg up in the AI demand, in the AI build out. Will that mean more competitive pressure? Will there be a bottleneck where they do stagnate? How much can they actually grow? And so many investors that are just in memory have seen booms and busts from cloud or smartphone or crypto, and they say, I don't know that this one's going to last forever. I'm pattern matching to previous cycles, not thinking about this as a different technology cycle. So I think that's what's going on with SK Hynix. But it should be a blockbuster IPO nevertheless. Very interesting to see an Asian company listed
And
in America.
Most notable part of this deal is obviously situational awareness.
Yeah.
And their participation in
press.
it. They cover in
do.
Invest Like the Best, the $1 billion PDF. It's an
Yes.
idea that Jeremy and Patrick have talked about before, but situational awareness is turning out to be more of maybe a $10 or $100 billion PDF.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, the whole investing thesis built around that. It's just a PDF. I don't know. Is it an essay, a thesis?
If the PDF was worth $1 billion or more than that, what was the Dwarkesh episode worth? It's got to be some percentage of it, right?
Yeah, definitely. Because a lot of people watch the podcast, watch the clips, scroll through the PDF. It's also a
breaking
website.
news: Meta unveils Muse Image, its first image
finally.
generation model from MSL.
Waiting for this. Let's pull up some images of this and see the results. It should be good given that they have all the Instagram and Facebook data to train on. While we pull up some images of the new Muse image model from Meta, let me tell you about Figma. Agents meet the canvas. Your AI agents can now create and modify your Figma files with design system context. Do we have any of this, or should we click over to Jeremy Gaffon?
I am working on pulling up Muse image. Let's
Here we go.
go through. Alex Wang has a post.
Cool.
Let's pull this up.
Okay, Muse image, Muse video, Muse image. A whole bunch of very detailed badges printed all in one image. He says, releasing Muse image today, the first image generation model from MSL. It is crazy that they didn't have any, like, back when it was fair, did they do anything with image? Did they? Because they had that amazing model Segment Anything, so they were doing work on images, and obviously they processed a ton of images. It pairs with MuseSpark to reason through your prompt, search the web, and plan before it generates. People get what they mean on the first try, live now in the Meta AI app. Very, very fun. Even puts a realistic QR code in there and can do infographics and old Polaroids as well. Big Sur, August 1983. Looks great. 3 things Alex Wang is excited about under the hood. Self-refinement. The model improves its own output within its chain of thought, emerged during RL, not by design. Multi-reference composition. Many images blended into one coherent generation. Multi-turn editing. Iterate without losing coherence or starting over. Make an image of this person riding a bike, this bike, and wearing this suit while passing by these people on a park bench. Make it look like a drawing in this style. That's cool. So you can upload multiple images and sort of drop them in his various prompts. What you got, Tyler?
Yes. So Metafair did release a number of image models.
Oh, really?
So there was, I think it's pronounced Chameleon in 2023. There was Emu, also 2023, and then there was another version of Chameleon. I think they were somewhat different than the Diffusion, which was popular at the time. I think they were all autoaggressive transformer, which was how you get the good text, stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
But I believe this is a different
That's cool.
game. Yeah.
And Alex is also previewing Muse video, competitive on prompt adherence, visual fidelity, temporal consistency, also coming to Meta AI. This has got to be GPU intensive if they actually roll this out to everyone. Although Meta AI does have a smaller install base than Instagram, but I mean, imagine if you really push this in Meta AI and
What
everyone's
did they buy
generating
all the
videos.
GPUs for?
You got to get people generating stuff. I completely agree. I think put this in the hands of the modern Instagram creator, let them have fun with it, and see, you already have the algorithm to filter the slop out. The stuff that is sloppy but still entertaining and creative will surface to the top. So congrats to them on a successful launch. Let's tell you about Railway. Railway is the all-in-one intelligent cloud provider. Use your favorite agent to deploy web apps, servers, databases, and more, while Railway automatically takes care of scaling, monitoring, and security. And let's click over to Jeremy Gaffon on why he doesn't worry about AI taking jobs. A very, very interesting take on the latest episode.
I understand this idea of we're going to run out of jobs. To me, it's very obvious that certainly every white-collar job is totally fake and made up, in the sense that they are not contingent for shelter and food and medicine and other necessities. But most jobs do not touch those, or if they do, they touch it in a very, very derivative way. What is your job as an allocator? It's because capital is inherently inflationary, you can't just leave it alone. And so my job is when you have money and you don't want it to go away, you have to give it to someone. And so you give it to a bunch of people, and then I take it and I put it into things that are productive, and then hopefully you don't lose your money, you get more money. And is this useful? Is this good? Yeah, sure. But It's not real. And to me, there's like unlimited amounts of jobs that you can create in those sorts of scenarios. We're going to have unlimited wants and desires. And our economy is solely driven by our like unquenchable desire to consume things. And so we're going to come up with new things to consume. And now, again, in the short term and medium term, that might be volatile and there might be a lot of job loss, et cetera. And, that's not good. And, there could be a lot of despair. But in the long run, like, we're just going to invent new things to do. Like, we've already solved all of our problems. Like, the worry about, we're not going to have more jobs, it just doesn't really resonate because I feel like we just make up stuff for us to do. And that's sort of the whole point of it.
That makes me think we need and invest like the best soundtracks.
We do need to invest like the best soundtrack. Let's play the other clip that Patrick shared. The West Coast is definitely eating the East Coast.
The founder is incredibly important, and sort of the founding act is incredibly important in any business. I do think that it's notable that like the current paradigm in which we live, the largest and most important finance firms come out of a culture of leverage buyout, which it's extractive insofar as the primary goal is to make a thing more profitable. The core idea behind it is like using debt and financial engineering to make a lot of money in a way that the quality of the business itself is maybe ancillary to the core
Pause
trade.
for a second. Afterglow says, "My God, what an obnoxious soundboard! Unwatchable." Sorry.
It is a little loud today. I feel
Sorry.
like the soundboard's coming in a little bit hot. We're sorry about that, but we're having fun here. And of course, we don't want to pirate the entire Invest Like the Best episode. We got to tease it.
This
a
would
little
be a
bit
good
so
use
you can
case for
go.
AI if we can make a separate show that's just the show, but an agent in real time
With the
pulls out
soundboard.
the sound effect and just has a normal show, no soundboard.
Sure. So you can choose whether you want the soundboard version of the show or the not, or the.
Tyler says,
pre-edited.
"Don't be sorry. That's why I'm here."
There we
Tyler's
go.
just here for the soundboard. So Afterglow,
Another one.
unfortunately, there's people that are here that don't like the soundboard. There's people that are here only because of the soundboard.
Exactly.
We are trying to find the middle ground, and we don't always get it right.
It's sort
we
of
don't always get it right, but we're trying
sort
to.
of a cold war between the
Yeah.
pro soundboard and the anti soundboard constituents in the audience. So we'll do our best. But today is a soundboard episode, so there's going to be a couple. But I think the team did dial back the soundboard a little bit, so not too bad now. Okay. Well, revenge of the East Coast. The East Coast is trying to make a comeback. Jeremy Gaffon says the West Coast is eating the East Coast, but the East Coast is trying to make a comeback across all of these big banks. Did you hear about this? They're going after the debit card rails. They're going after Visa. This is news today. JP Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, PNC, and other big banks are reportedly exploring a deal to buy a Fiserv debit card network that would let them own more of the payment rails that the customers' debit cards run on. So the basic idea is that I think it was post-financial crisis, there were limits on how much banks could make on debit card transactions. This is the Durbin Amendment.
Durbin?
The Durbin Amendment, I think Dick Durbin. And they want a way to turn debit back into a more valuable business. So Fiserv owns major debit networks, including Star and Accel, which I don't run into that often. I usually see Visa, MasterCard, Amex. I mean, Amex doesn't have a debit network, but Star and Accel already connect to millions of cardholders and thousands of financial institutions. So this is it's a real rail with an existing bank and merchant connectivity. And so this is like when Capital One bought Discover. They own the issuer, then they also own the network, and then they can move their own volume onto their own rails and capture more of the economics. So who loses if this goes through? Who should be upset about this? It's probably the merchants, Visa and MasterCard. So merchants would probably see higher effective debit costs if banks find a way to route more volume through bank-owned networks, while Visa and MasterCard would lose some leverage over U.S. debit. But the bigger story is that payments are getting getting vertically rebundled. Banks want the account, the card, the network, the wallet, the fraud layer, and eventually the AI agent checkout surface. So it's all very. I don't even think there's a real bid for Fiserv's debit networks just yet, but it's like starting to leak out that they're doing it. And I was interested to know, like, is this bullish for Ramp because they sit on top of networks? And I think it is generally positive, and because of the layer of abstraction they operate on. And I was wondering, like, is this an attack on Stripe? Is this an attack on any particular West Coast tech startup that we know? And it seems like it's much more of an attack on Visa and MasterCard in particular, who have been driving up debit fees for them. Anyway, let me tell you about Console. Console builds AI agents that automate 70% of IT, HR, and finance support, giving employees instant resolution for access requests and password resets. Wow.
Cantor in the chat said to warm up the gong.
You gotta warm
I had to
up
warm
the
it up
gong.
for him.
Okay, well, the gong is warmed up. Maybe we need a couple more huge hits to fully warm it up. Did you want to talk more about Fiat's next U.S. car? You mentioned it when we were talking to Baiju from Cowboy Space Company yesterday. The Topolino. It's coming to America. Tiny two-seat electric micro car, they're calling it. It starts at $14,000, almost half the price of the other electric golf cart that we talked about last Thursday? We talked to?
Yeah.
But
you can fit a lot more people in the Amble.
The Amble, yes, that's right.
I like this move from Fiat.
You like it?
I think that their cars are generally unserious.
Yes.
And so I think it's good to just lean into that. And,
Okay.
And I think they're trying to price this so that when people are thinking, hey, I need a new car.
Yeah.
Should I go out and buy like a crossover SUV or
There's
some type
no
of...
way anyone can consider this for their main car. It's impossible.
No, but you can if you typically roll around with a handful of people, and instead of buying one car,
you buy a bunch of them
for $60,000.
You'll need
you
a
buy
train of
4
them.
of these.
You know the range on this thing? 46 miles. 46 miles. I mean, I guess if you have a 10-mile commute, you can totally commute here.
They launched an EV with
46
miles of range.
It's nothing.
They should have called it. They should have
How
called
long's
it
your
the
commute
Fiat.
It's less than 10 miles.
Less than 10
They
miles.
should have called it the Fiat Dice because every time you leave the house,
Yeah.
you're rolling the dice.
It's 1,000 pounds, so you can deadlift it with another friend.
Are you serious?
1,000 pounds, yeah. This thing's tiny. It's really, truly like so small.
They're saying it's the cutest car ever made.
Look at the speed. The
Tops
speed of
out
this
at
car,
25 miles an hour.
That's with a street legal low speed vehicle kit. By default, it only goes 19 miles an hour. So how long would it take you to get here? 19 miles an hour? 30 minutes?
Yeah,
Something
30
like that?
minutes. 40
Wow.
minutes.
That's
not
too
bad.
That's
Not too bad.
Maybe you got to do it. Okay.
You guys are laughing, but you
Yeah.
won't be laughing when I pull up to the office with
Fleet of these.
with 5 of these.
And you need a support car, like a
Multiple
Cybertruck
support-
behind
no.
you.
Yeah, no, the Topolino is the
Mm-hmm.
support. You have a series of you just go train mode.
Well, our next guest is the owner of a Hummer EV, or at least was. We can talk to him about that. We can bring him on down whenever we want. You ready? Let me tell you about Public first. Investing for those who take it seriously. They got stocks, options, bonds, crypto, treasuries, and more with great customer service. Alex, great. Here, grab that seat. Sit down for us. Do you still own a Hummer EV?
Yeah, we do actually.
You do. Well, give us your review. We were just talking about the Fiat Topolino. I don't think you're going to be in the market for that. Neck and neck.
Neck and neck.
It's 1,000 pounds.
So I think what we could do is like if you just lined up like 10 of the Fiat, like kind of
Yeah.
like Chariot. Like,
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
maybe
That's
you
what I'm
could
saying.
drag the Hummer.
Yeah.
Like it'd be my Chariot.
I think the Hummer's
Imagine
9,000
if the
pounds.
Hummer's
Literally
kind of the
9
front
of these.
If the Hummer is kind of the front of the train, and then you have like you see the Hummer coming at you, and then a bunch of the Topolinos kind of pull out in like a V shape.
Fast and Furious
That
style.
would be
Like,
badass.
Yeah.
Take over the whole hot smog.
How is life these days?
Good.
Is there a new book coming?
There is another book coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a strategy for book launch cadence? Is it an annual thing?
It's more like every 18 months
18
to
months.
2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
But do you imagine that continuing for your entire career?
Every book I write, I say is the last book I'm going to write, and then I have like a 6-month refractory period, and then I'm like, yeah, you know, I could write a book about something, and then I just start writing again.
What's the process like?
I have a bunch of notes on my phone of a topic, because right now I have like probably like 10 books that are at different stages of. So I just mind dump wherever, and then once there's enough stuff that I think this is interesting, I'll then start the book writing process. But I'm a big believer in surface area of thought.
Okay.
Like if you were to sit down and say like I'm going to write a book about this, and then you have 2 weeks, it's like you don't have enough experiences that are diverse in a 2-week period while you're writing to like let the paint dry.
Sure.
So I kind of want to like I want to be in a totally different state, talk to somebody and be like, I didn't think about that, and then I add it to the book, and so then all of a sudden it's like the density of thought and ideas per word is much higher. But I think you just have to do it by like spreading out the time so like the time I'm thinking about a book is much longer than the time I'm writing the book.
Is it purely thinking and you want a lot of thought to go into the different sections of the book, or over the course of 18 months, is there actually a benefit to going out and having real world experiences?
Oh, that's
and anecdotes, right?
Yeah, it's 100% that, because I'll have a working theory of like I think this is how I think people are missing this part of it.
Yeah.
And then I'll kind of start battle testing it functionally. And then when I realize that I'm using the same framework over and over again and successfully overcoming some issue, I'm like, this is it.
Yeah.
And then that's what the book becomes.
How narrow do you want to stay? How narrow have you been in the surface area of thought around mainly the last 3 books?
It's a really good question. Problem definition for the book, I think, is the hardest part of any book. Like the Leeds book, which is the second book, was the hardest book I've ever written. I'll never write a book that hard because I was like, I'm going to write a book on advertising. It's like, Jesus Christ, there's so many ways to get leads.
Yes.
And I put it all in one book. It took 19 versions to get there.
Yeah.
The Money Models book was the fastest book because it was really just about wrappers for promotions. Super valuable, but really easy to consume and use.
Yep.
And so I was like, okay, this is the lesson for me. Like, and offers, super narrow.
Super narrow.
And that book too was like, all 3 of those books started as one kind of gigantic thing. And I gave it to somebody and they're like, dude, you cannot.
Yeah.
It was like this. And they're like, because I was like, I'm going to have a tome. And then I decided I want people to actually read it.
Is there a itch in the back of your mind where you want to do sort of the Tim Ferriss thing, where you go from 4-hour work week, a business book, to chef, body, lifestyle, money management, personal finance? Like, there's so many topics that you talk about and people are interested. And I'm sure you could sell those books and they might be edifying at a certain point because you're like, I've scratched this itch 3 times, 4 times, 10 times. But is there a level of focus that you have to discipline yourself, or does it come naturally?
I only write about stuff that I feel like I have some unique take on. I think rewriting a book that already exists, other people already know, there's no point. Especially if like you're in the thick of it and you're thinking, oh, this has already been written before. It doesn't really motivate you. Like I think I want to write something that only exists because I made it.
Same thing with businesses. Like I've had the experience of building a company or just like starting to work on a company and being like, I can stop working on this and it will not matter at all.
Yeah, the world will be fine.
Like,
the world will be
there's
fine.
A bunch of alternatives. And that you can make that case for like most businesses. But there are some where you're like, if I don't build this, no one's going to build it, at least in the right way.
Yeah. No, I have 100% that perspective when it comes to book writing.
Yeah.
It's funny, as we talk about this, Jeremy Gaffon, I know is a good friend of yours, good friend of ours, and every time he talks, people just listen. And he's somebody who I would love to write a book, almost because I just want him to go on another podcast, proper podcast tour. He just kind of pops up, does Invest Like the Best, and then just goes dark for like 18 months. But like, it's somewhat of a tragedy that he'll probably write a book someday, but it'll be in like 40 years. So in the meantime, you have to like, in the meantime, you have to just like, take notes and try to pick stuff up from the podcast. But there's so many people that should be writing books just don't have the time, and they'll eventually come and take like a victory lap at the end of their career. But I think it's like you could just do a lot of stuff other than write books. But it's very valuable to be like writing in real time versus like saving up a bunch of lessons and then kind of summarizing it at the end.
I think you miss out on the wrinkles, like the tiny little details that like if you think about like the story of how you met your wife and you go back, like you've told it a bunch of times, but if you told it the day after you did it, you'd have so much richer memory of all the tiny little things that happened. And so I'm a big believer of like while it's wet, like paint it. And then let it dry over time. But that's why I always want documentation to be as real time as possible.
It's funny. The final book will actually be the easiest to write because you have all the books and you're like, okay, what was actually worth kind of
greatest hits at that point.
Yeah. Play the hits.
We had Mark Pincus on the show, founder of Zynga. He wrote a book, and he said that he thinks everyone should write a book in their life, but he also said everyone should build a house. Do you have any aspirations to build real estate physically?
Like me do it?
You do it?
No, not by hand.
Work on
not
it.
by hand, but just take a piece of dirt and turn it into
You're working with an architect and team, but is that something that, a lot of people, that's on their bucket list? I don't know where you've been in your real estate journey, but how do you think about that as a bucket list item?
It's not.
Oh, it's not. Why not?
I mean, we buy big multifamily that are already existing, and we do that. But if there were an investment opportunity that made sense, I would.
You're not interested because it's not productive.
It's just not on my list.
It's purely for the satisfaction.
If you're have you listened to thought about listening to Beyonce today? I'd be like, not really. But I mean, if it was on, sure. I'm not against it.
Yeah, I think some people just have the itch to customize their own living environment. And I'm curious about how you see your living environment, because I mean, from those first YouTube videos, the monastic, what were you, closet? You were in a closet.
In my closet.
that was
my business thoughts.
I don't know if that was intentional, but it was somewhat deliberate. You picked that space over a big living room, right?
Yeah.
And I'm wondering how you think about your living space, your workspace, your office space today.
So I would say all of the time that when I work, I'm very intentional about that space. Mm-hmm. When I'm not working, it's whatever Layla wants. Mm-hmm. I don't care. If she's 10% happier, I have a percent to percent correlation to my happiness, and me being more comfortable has no correlation back. And so whatever she's good with, I'm good with. Yeah. But in terms of where I work, it's almost all how do I eliminate every sense of distraction for me personally. And so it's I don't have windows. Some people like having windows. I don't think anything wrong with that. For me, it's I need no stimulation because I'm very distractible, and so I have to have earplugs in, no light, all artificial. I have soundproof, I want nothing. Yeah. And then I can finally focus on what I'm trying to work on.
Yeah. Can we go back to the early YouTube days on the latest channel? I think 2020. In that closet. We both launched YouTube channels around the same time, and we were talking about this. You completely smoked me.
Yeah,
it was insane.
John is obviously pretty good at media, and was his channel was just following his interests, Silicon Valley history. The execution was by all means amazing. Got to 500,000 subscribers.
But I treated it like a blog, and you treated it like a business.
Yeah, and it was but it was a much smaller TAM. Yep. And when you compare the two channels and your strategy, the execution difference was
so bad.
It was
just me, and I had one remote editor for years. And I was not monetizing, not really thinking about it as a business. But I'm interested to know on day one of that YouTube channel, because I know you've done media stuff before, but the current media business, what was the team like? What was the strategy? How much time were you putting into it? Because I know you had exited some businesses, you had some space to breathe, but how serious and then what was the evolution of that?
I'll walk you through as fast as I can. So the first thing was I found any media editor, an agency, and they were 3 YouTube videos a week is what we do. And I was all right, then that's what I'll do. Okay. And so I just webcammed, and I had a little suitcase that would open up so I could travel, because Layla and I were traveling for the year of the sale. And so that's what I did. Wherever we were, I was open up. And then, because at that time I didn't have really any work, so I had all these thoughts that I was I'm just going to get them, I'm going to dump them all out. And so that's basically what YouTube Strategy 1.0 was. Yeah. I had somebody cold reach out, legit, when right as Shorts started. They were I'll do everything. You already have YouTube stuff. I'm just going to clip it. Just give me permission. Yep. And I was
oh, cool.
And so that's what
accidentally started clipping.
100%. And so that was we were really early on Shorts.
So good.
And then as soon as he did a pretty good job, he was if I actually recorded you doing these, they'd do even better. And I was fine, but I only want to do one day a quarter. And he was fine. So he'd fly out for one day, and we'd do 100 shorts in one sitting. 100%. I would just do 100. And that kind of style of filming and recording is pretty much how I still kind of rock that way, which is I want I prefer a marathon day. Like I'd rather just start at 6 and then just rock until every ounce of juice is gone, and then it's like great.
Yeah.
We'll do it again in a week or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, we're sort of like that marathon every day.
Yeah. I mean, one of my questions is like,
No,
what
but it's
goes
a very
into a
different-
2-hour YouTube video? Because you'll do these like master classes,
Yeah.
2 hours, and I'm like, that is insane. And then I'm like, I do 3 hours every day. So like now it's become more possible, but I imagine that there's lots of
But the
scripting
3
and you
hours
have
was
teams
kind of
now.
like just going until we got tired.
Yeah.
Like by 3 hours, we're usually like, okay, like probably need to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Probably want to eat some food.
Yeah,
Don't wanna
and
eat
this
on
show's
camera.
much less structured. But when you're thinking about like the portfolio, like the volume is just incredibly important to everything in media these days. You agree with that?
Oh, 100%.
Where
Volume negates luck all
What?
day. Volume negates luck.
Volume
Violence
negates
is the
luck.
answer. Yeah,
Got
that's
it.
like on our wall at HQ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What formats are you most excited about for 2026, 2027?
Live interactive.
Okay.
Separate and together.
Okay.
So just going live, like
Yep.
with the audience, Twitch style,
Yep.
YouTube live style.
And that was the book launch strategy, right? Was that the first taste? You've done live
No,
before.
I'd done lives before,
Yeah.
but that was obviously
Much bigger.
intentional. And then interactive, which is not like, sure, there's chat interactive, but
Yeah.
like, how do I bring the audience in
Yep.
so that we can talk? That's why you see the first, it was Cash Cows, now it's Scale or Fail, which is
Yep.
the show we just launched. And we're doubling down really hard on that, because if you think in a world of AI, it's like, what are the things that can't be faked?
Yeah.
It's people, like I want stakes.
Yep.
So for example, like if Mr. Beast's videos, if it was not a real $5 million, or not a real Lamborghini, the stakes disappear.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, there's for sure other, like a fictional story, the whole thing we know is fake and we're fine with it, and the story is the story, and AI will crush that.
Yeah.
But people still want stakes. Like right now, chess is more popular than it's ever been, but like humans haven't been able to beat computers for a long time.
Yeah.
And so there are definitely these some areas where we want the drama, we want the stakes, and so I don't think that's going to change at all.
I love the series that you've been doing with entrepreneurs that attend the conference. They stand up. They give you it's so good. I just love all of those.
Live interactive.
Live interactive.
100%.
I'm interested to know how you think legacy media will fit into your media strategy going forward. Is it about prestige? Is there actually an audience there still? Because you're part of the new guard, and yet you signed with CAA. I'm sure you have the ability to walk into a large media company and get a TV show. Does that make sense? Is that something that's interesting to you? What would the value be to you?
I think it's distribution that I don't have access to.
Okay.
So like I think one of the biggest like unspoken advantages that exist right now in media is Dave Ramsey has been murdering for 30, 40 years because he has 600 radio stations syndicated. Everyone's like, radio's dead. It's like, he's murdering it.
Yes.
And it's because no one's looking. So like attention, I'm an equal opportunist when it comes to attention.
Yeah.
And so even if it's less or more, if it's something that's completely in this other bubble over here that I have no access to.
And the beauty is like there's still like closer to, like there's no monopoly online, right? The feed is like you can just get, anybody can log on, and it's beautiful because anyone can log on. You don't have to have an audience. You can suddenly have an audience. Maybe it's one video, maybe it's a flash in the pan, but TV still, like if you can figure out the right lane, you have this sort of like differentiated access to attention. And so it's like a different group of people, and it's differentiated access that's not just like log on, immediately have access.
And when something super pops, like you look at all the real estate shows that have come out, you've got Selling Sunset, Sirhan has his show, like there's a huge distribution base that they gain access to as a result of that. And all you have to do is look at those stars, look at their social media, and I would say I say this lovingly, it's pretty weak in terms of what they're doing.
Sure.
But their
the
following,
engagement.
but their following is still really strong because it's carried over.
Yep.
And so I'm like, if those people actually tried on this side and had, so I'm an and person. It's like, how do we get it all?
Yeah.
Right. And that's kind of the approach.
I think this is just underrated broadly for mostly tech people. They see the trend of the internet growing exponentially, or e-commerce, and they think, oh, well, in a couple of years, like 100% of everything will be bought online. And it's like, no, retail still exists. And, for certain categories, you probably need to be in retail as well. And the same thing with, the aging audiences on radio or TV, they're still there. They still watch. And so interesting. What about the level of production polish? I imagine that there's a trade-off there if you go with something more produced that's not just you opening your laptop and yapping, right? You can get stuck. You can get stuck in like the production quagmire if you're trying to build the Mona Lisa or some incredible show. At the same time, there's prestige that comes with that. There's a new level of authority. How do you think about that trade-off?
I think it's barbell. So it's either like make it the Mona Lisa
Yeah.
and like play to win that game, or you're in the volume game. And the volume is just value per second and just trying to get as many of those seconds out as you possibly can.
Sure.
And like I just think it's both. And
Yeah.
I think they serve different objectives. To your point of like you gain authority in different ways. It's definitely there's an element that it shifts the brand.
Yeah.
There's access to new distribution and eyeballs. All of that happens over here.
Yeah.
But over here I think is where you get a lot of the closer to buying behavior, believe
Yeah.
it or not. And so I see this as more top of funnel and this is like closer to middle and bottom.
Yeah.
Obviously you can get discoverability. Like I said, this is full stack, but you get way closer to purchases on the site.
Yeah. Is there? Can we offer you
Thank
a Diet
you.
Coke? Can we offer you anything? We have a variety of beverages if you'd like.
What's a category of business that you haven't built or invested in that you're excited to at some point?
I'm still looking for the magical med spa. I think med spas are super. I love pseudo medical because you
Looks
have
maxing.
yeah, all of it. Well, think about it. Like, there's this aging population that has more money than anyone else. They don't want to age. They see the Brian Johnsons.
Yeah.
Like, it is the zeitgeist of right now of like, I want to live forever. I want to look beautiful and young forever. And they have all the money. And so if you look at the demand side of that, it's huge.
Yeah.
And look at the supply. Med spas they're still wildly understaffed. And I know this because I see business owners every single week.
Yeah.
And so there's a handful of categories right now that I'll meet business owners and they're doing better than they should be. Like there's some business owners I meet.
I met a med spa owner when I first moved to LA. They had started their business, and within a year, they were doing like 1.2 million of like straight free cash flow off of like $400,000 invested.
Yeah.
And it was like actually unbelievable. Yes, the entrepreneur in this case was like very talented.
Because he watches this and he's oh yeah, he's great though.
No, but
Yeah.
this was
Watch
you know
this
years ago. But yeah, I'm surprised that also like differentiated shots at that category, because if you look at like, I would expect Brian Johnson to do something like this, right? Because there's a lot of people that follow him, and he has, you know, as many, maybe he probably has like 10 times as many like critics as he does people that are like, I'm going to do exactly what he's going to do. But that group of people that will just like copy what he's doing is actually pretty meaningful, right?
It's
and
huge.
so med spas, you go into these like high ticket kind of like procedures, treatments, things like that. To me, that's where I think he could really start to print.
He had 1,200 people apply for his $1 million per year thing. 1,200. Do that math.
Yeah.
Real fast.
Yeah,
right?
that's a lot of money.
And then there was a $60,000 per year thing that was underneath, and multiply that by just probably
Yeah.
an order of magnitude greater.
Yeah.
Wildly underestimated. So you take that, and then you have these 10,000 or 15,000 med spas that exist. It's like it's nothing, and it's super fragmented because still no one's really like gobbled that up well.
Yeah.
Not that I've seen. And to your point of like, when I ask them like, hey, so what are you doing right now to get your $6 million a year top line and 40% margins? And they're like, kind of just we just opened up and put the sign up and just did a good job and customers tell customers like that's not how it fucking works.
Yeah, and it's not how it's going to work forever.
No,
necessarily.
they're just in a completely supply constrained environment. They just don't know it because when you're on the inside, you don't know. You're like, oh, I'm doing a good job.
Is part of the problem that a lot of the med spa like founders get a little bit too sucked into the biohacker nature of these things, and it feels a little bit too scientific?
I don't think it's that at all. I think it's like it's so short term. A lot of the med spas I think are like very short term, cosmetic driven. They're like, how do we make you look good for the next 3 to 6 months, which is not necessarily what makes you look good over the next 3 to 6 years or over the next few decades. So that's at least generally.
There's a slice for Johnson to attack, which he obviously
that's
is. And he's a very smart dude. And
Yeah.
How would you attack the problem? Roll up, find a bunch of operators, put them together, start something from scratch?
I mean, the roll model would make the most sense.
Yeah.
But the thing is like de novo is not that expensive.
Sure.
Yeah.
And if you are a good operator, you can go in and just smash.
Yeah.
Because when people are coming in, when your CAC's zero and your gross margins on these services are absurd, the actual difficulty in that model right now is getting the talent for the technicians because it's supply constrained at the business level. It's also supply constrained at the talent level.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so
And it's so easy for them to open up a door.
Exactly. They hang their own shingle, they take the customers, and like that's the issue that those companies have. And so the key to really winning that game is having a really good talent strategy for how do I make their lifestyles? How do I compensate them as directly as possible on what they're generating and get it to the point where my godfather is in wealth management, and he's a really cool model. He's managed several $1 billion, but he started at nothing and built it all himself. And his big thing was and his big thing was basically letting the other person have a little more. Yeah. And so it's like he's like, I'll give you 51. So that you don't ever want to leave, but then you do all the work.
Yeah, it probably looks more like a law firm over time.
Yeah, 100%. It's more of a partner. And to be fair, if you've been to any of these, I would say it's a high touch service. They're not loyal to the business. They're loyal to the girl who does her injections or does their lasers or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's like we just got to tie those people in like a partner firm. Yeah.
Speaking of Brian Johnson, do you care at all about living forever?
I don't even think about it. I expect to die. I would prefer not to, but like. I'm good. I'm good either way. Like I think Marcus Aurelius said, the old and the young lose the same thing when they die, which is the present. That's all we got. So
yeah, I love it. I'm a similar way. I want to have a full life, but I never, at any point in my life, have I thought, oh, it would just be the best thing ever if I could never die.
Yeah. Going back to sort of core audience. Yeah. I think of like the sweet spot is like mid-market owner, operator, founder types. Is that roughly accurate?
Yeah, 1 to 50 million.
1 to 50 million. What is the expansion opportunity? Is there a business for you where you're giving keynotes at Fortune 500 companies, motivational speaking for like, middle managers at huge companies? Okay. or is it getting people on the founder journey who are leaving companies, breaking out into their own and going from 0 to 1 million? What do you think?
Well, from an expansion opportunity, like I think there's still plenty of people in the 150 million who don't know who I am and haven't consumed my stuff or whatever. So like plenty there. But if I just focus there, I get the 0 to a million.
Sure.
Anyways.
Yeah.
Because if you're helping people go from 1 to 10, people are like, he can probably help me go from 1 to 0 to 1.
Yeah.
And so I'm super broadly zooming out. I'm a big fan of capitalism. And I think as many people as possible participating in a free market is a good thing for the country and for that person and for everyone else that they serve. And so I would like as many people to taste that forbidden fruit as humanly possible. And so I try and make it as simple and as easy as possible for people to get started.
Yeah. What mistakes do you see entrepreneurs making around AI? Because I'll give you one. The small business owners that I know that get too into AI, and maybe they're listening to podcasts and they're on X and we're
orange glasses ready to
go. They won't just apply AI to their business. They'll start a new company that's AI oriented, and I just think that's the worst possible mistake because they end up doing something that the model just does well, and it's okay, so you're going to compete just directly with all the biggest companies in the world on something that you don't even know as well as the biggest companies in the world.
Have no data edge.
When you could just and so there's this grass is greener thing happening where instead of saying I can just make these parts of my business even if it's just 10% more efficient, I can keep compounding. But what are you seeing?
All right, one, they're using AI to do dumb things really fast, so they're doing the wrong stuff with AI. So even they were a small business owner that wasn't making money now still doesn't make money, but has a lot more token costs than they did before. Number two, they're
meeting summaries. Yeah, I've never been successful. I've never.
That was my bottleneck. I just need to summarize.
Yeah. No, but it's one of those things. I think it's cool that these apps exist. Yeah. I've never needed to take notes to achieve my goals in business. I'm just okay, what's the next most important thing to do? I'm going to do that thing. Yeah. Okay, what's the next most important thing to do?
Your phone.
I'm going to do that thing. I've never been okay, what did we say? I mean, and I've worked in small companies, right? Yeah. I've only been a founder. But that's just such an example of my meeting note system is so dialed. I'm okay, how much money have you made today?
Yeah. Okay. So I'll tell you to counter answer the two things that I think are the right way to use it, which is number one, how do we take every function of the business, take it from org chart based thinking to workflow based thinking, and then saying, okay, this editor used to be involved in these 6 workflows. We actually only need him to be now involved in 3 of those workflows, and the other 3 we can have AI do the vast majority of the work. And so all of a sudden we can 3-5x output. And so revenue per head count on service-based businesses should decrease, which means margins should go up. Now there's this great opportunity window right now where prices aren't really going to adjust for a minute, which means that your margins get absolutely stupid. And so you should do that. So there's 2 flavors of that. One is the like I'm an advocate of like, don't tell people you're using AI. Like go have a service business that people think is all humans in the background, and then charge human prices, and then have costs of tech and have the scale and operational, or the lack of operational drag of tech. That's the good game, right?
Yeah.
Or take it department by department so that you can just become more efficient at it, right? So those are, I think, the two good ways of doing it. To your point of like, well, being distracted is still a terrible idea as a founder. And so this has just made it so much easier for people to get distracted because like, I could start a business on this or that or that.
Yeah.
And then it's like, yeah, but you still have your dry cleaning store, dude. Like, what are we going to, like, and to be fair, if you want to be a trillionaire, you are going to need to get into bleeding edge tech and AI, but you probably should get rid of your dry cleaning store and go all in. And so they're trying to juggle two plates and not really succeeding at either.
Totally. Yeah, the dry cleaning example is like, use AI to constantly be monitoring every possible new space that you could expand into within your area or in the county over, et cetera, and just do that. But it's like grass is greener. Like, oh, what if I made the operating system, the agent operating system for dry cleaners? It's like, no, just like do the thing.
Just win at dry cleaning, because it's also so much easier to compete against other dry cleaning owners, because you for sure know that they're not adopting it the right way, because they're doing the same thing with orange glasses and banging out their replicated software. You know, like fine.
There's also like a fair amount of AI that a lot of small businesses are probably getting for free, just in the sense of like, if you have a CRM that's sending emails, like that company has probably adopted AI and is doing somewhat smarter targeting. And so you might not need to go and build your own CRM that sends emails that are customized for every customer, because like you get it for free out of the box.
There's also this tendency to rebuild the existing software that you're using.
Always.
So it's like, oh, I've got I don't need to pay Calendly, $9 a month. It's just like, oh, so instead you're going to use 200 hours to try and recode what they just did, and it breaks all the time.
If there's an error, then you lose
$9,000. But like that is what I'm saying all the time.
Yeah, we did have Ben on our team here. He does a lot of the automation that we do around like captioning videos. He had reached a point where all the existing software didn't do the thing that he needed to do, and that he built something yesterday that now works, and that it's saving him a bunch of time. So there are these edge cases.
It's very narrow point solutions for us.
I think
like specifically
TAM
we
equals
need to
1.
Clip live streams very quickly with captions, with our ads added on at the end, and it saved a bunch of time in Premiere.
In media, it's huge, right?
Yeah.
Like we're using it. Like I'll give you 2 examples we're using. On the ad side, what we did was we built this gigantic data repository, which by the way, I think that's what the huge gap that small business owners are missing is they don't have a data layer. And so it's like, if you want to have anything that's unique, it starts with the data. If you want to build like any kind of AI, right, that's actually useful.
Yeah.
And so one is like, how do we build a repository of all the data that we have in terms of sales copy, testimonials, videos, collateral, all of that in one place, and then have that get piecemealed out into ads in real time, and then also match those to dynamic landing pages. So we have that live right now at acquisition.com in terms of how we're doing it. So we have several hundred landing pages that are getting pushed against several hundred different ads that are going out, all being done programmatically with AI, which is really like we're not an AI company. But we use the shit out of it, and so I think that those are the on the paid side where it's really, really exciting.
Yeah.
And then on the organic side, it's like right now we started Hormozi, which is like the highlights channel.
Yeah.
And I've got one cracked out teenager who's putting out 20 clips a day on his own. He's doing five mids. So like we call them mids, it's like call it like 3 to 10 minutes clips, and then he's putting out, I think 15 or something like that shorts per day on his own. And so he just takes all the time, if I'm talking to business owners, takes it, runs it through, it highlights the points. From there, he just basically just makes sure that it's good, inserts automatically the CTAs that we want, and then boom, it's all automatic.
What's your philosophy on bringing the cracked out teenager in-house, remote, in-person versus agency versus platform where clipping can happen, a Discord that just, you hear about these Discords with like 200 clippers and they all get paid on a CPM basis randomly. It feels deeply chaotic, but if you can harness that, maybe it's powerful, but what's your philosophy?
Yes.
Okay.
That's 100% my philosophy.
Okay.
But like, are you an agency fan or in-house? It's like, I want 3 agencies working for me and an in-house team. Like it's all the impressions are out there. Like, got to catch them all. Like, go get them. You know what I mean? And same thing with, like, if I pay a lot of attention, especially on the paid side, to e-commerce. I think they're almost always the most cutting edge. Well, actually, porn's the most cutting edge. Right before that is, I'm being real, right? E-commerce is second most cutting edge. And those guys are all completely the ones who are crushing it, going to 0 to 100 million plus in, call it like 12 to 24 months. Like all the companies that are running the same playbook is decentralized UGC with kind of like AI backend for screening for control, and then just letting it fucking rip.
Yeah.
And there's obviously some considerations for brand, right? Which is like, how do we make sure? But
but if the raw footage is
and you only put money
greenlit,
behind the things that are exactly.
Yeah, it's probably pretty safe.
Do you expect to integrate parenting content into your universe?
I don't think everything that's not business has not been like super deliberate. I just don't hold back. So if someone asks a question about it, I'll just answer honestly. But everything I try to think of, like the middle spoke is still, or I'll use this, there we go. The middle spoke is still business. And then it's, how am I seeing parenting through the lens of business as a business owner?
If you want.
How do I,
we got it over there.
Like, how do I see like my relationship with Layla, but we're business partners, but we're also married. So it's always, I try to keep that at the middle. But some people are like, I just want to talk about
thinking, with Taylor and Travis pairing up, hopefully they have children. You guys having children, I think we could see a real baby boom. But we need to get it out there.
That's what we're doing, the Lord's work.
There we go.
Can you walk me through how to sort of evolve a brand through what I expected to be more difficult, but you executed it very well? The headline was, I have nothing to sell you. Now you sell books. People want to buy stuff from you. Obviously, you sold a ton of books. But there's probably like I wasn't expecting this. How did you work through that? Because I think there's a lot of companies where the business model evolves and they need to change their communication strategy and they need to deliver
like an AI lab model. Is like, we're not going to compete with you.
What? That's crazy.
Asking for a friend here.
I'm such I think the absolute simplest media strategy for any kind of change is the whole truth, not half truth. And I think if you just manage that, so it's like, I didn't have anything to sell. And I was like, now I do.
It's so simple. I love it. That's amazing. Wow.
And if you don't want to buy it, here's the great thing about capitalism. It's voluntary exchange. So you can just keep getting the free shit. All good.
There's tons of it. There's tons of free stuff.
Tons of free stuff. And we still continue to do that. If you choose to want more help with stuff in person where we're limited, spend money. And we'd love to have you.
Yeah, it's fascinating. What is the term for like the economic ladder that you help companies build? I feel like the first time I was exposed to this with Jocko Willink, you get to the end of the show and it's like, if you want to spend $1 with me, I got something for you. If you want to spend $100 with me, I got something for you. If you want to spend $1,000, you can come to my conference. $10,000, I'll hang out with you for a weekend. $100,000, and that ladder of price discrimination is hard for a lot of businesses where it's not token-based pricing, where it's just as consumption-based usage of the product, but actually getting the place where, look, if you have a billionaire in your audience who loves what you're doing, how do you actually get an offer to them that's the right size?
So customers are super fractal, right? And so you can absolutely make the same amount from 1% of your customers as you can from the other 99 and have half your revenue from a one. And typically, like at each level, you have another double. So it's like if you're at, let's say, a $100 a month price point, there's going to be another double of revenue at a $500 a month price point, another double of revenue at $2,500 a month, another double at, whatever, 5 or 10 times that is going to be. And so I think making offers available to people, that is where business owners like struggle. They feel weird about it and they sell out of their own wallet. When it's just like, just make them available and state the facts and tell the truth. So it's like if we had one big plaque in our marketing team, it's state the facts and tell the truth, but it's the whole truth, which is, hey, we're going to do this thing. It's absurdly expensive. And it's only for somebody who, if you're reading this and you're like, oh, that's not absurdly expensive for me, it's for you. And if you read that and you're like, oh my God, I'm offended by that. Good news, we have less offensive prices that are lower. And for that, we do all these other things that you're going to get way more people who are going to be doing it with you. But if you're a special snowflake, we have special snowflake prices. I just don't think, and to be fair, you're not going to make everyone happy. Like there's always going to be trolls, there's always going to be people, but like, I think you have to make the decision of like, do I care more about the people I help or the people who are angry at me for trying to help?
What's your international strategy? I imagine the content goes everywhere. At the same time, you can't be flying around the world constantly. How do you think about different countries?
I struggle a lot with international because the business side of me is like, I don't want them to clog up our funnels.
Oh, yeah.
And like have people who can't speak English that well
Sure.
talking to the team. And it's like we don't have Italian versions of whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes
So
sense.
right. So I struggle with that part. On the other hand, we're taking steps now to
Local.
have something to, serve that audience. That being said, I don't think I'm going to be traveling internationally anytime soon.
Sure.
But having called services and offerings for that audience, I'm more inclined to be able to.
Yeah. How are you thinking about scaling acquisition.com, the investing side of the business, raising outside capital, scaling up the fund? We talk to VCs all day who are just like bigger and bigger mega funds.
Yeah. We're like
Early?
30 days away from closing a gigantic deal. So,
Come back.
yeah.
That'd be great.
But like, I would say that what acquisition.com was when we started was a cash flow based family office that Layla and I ran. And that was honestly the chillest my life has ever been. I was also bored to tears, but like a good life, and probably might have been better for the season I'm about to get into.
Sure.
But it became apparent after we did something like 24 deals in 24 months. And these were not like VC style deals. They were like real, purchases, that, portfolio theory rules, and of the 24, like, 3-ish were like the really good companies. And then on top of that, there was like our brand blew up in this time period. And so we had to basically have this recalculation of like, okay, well, these are all the resources we have at our disposal. We have cash, but like this brand is getting really big, even almost greater than the cash that we have access to, just our own money.
Yeah.
And so then it was like, okay, well, we started the advisory practice in January of 24, and I think we did 36 million in EBITDA year one, just on that one unit. And so I was like, okay. And then obviously, the book launch last year we did, 105, and we still had the advisory practice, which grew the next year. And so we stopped doing deals that we were just investors in, and now it's brand plus capital plus work. And I'd rather have fewer eggs that we're going to get huge outsized returns on. Like School was January
so
of
much
24 as well.
Yep.
But School has, we have 30 million users now.
Yeah.
And we have $1 billion plus GMV. Like it's a very big platform. And so like Zuckerberg didn't have Airbnbs as a side hustle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's just like, if you have a stallion, like run it. And so I think that's where we're at, where it's like, we're being really, really specific. I'm willing to put more capital at risk now because I'm going to put my brand behind it, and make sure the product's exceptional. And the bar is the product has to be fucking insane.
Yeah.
And then we bring distribution and cash. And like, that's when it's like the holy trinity.
Yeah.
Jeremy, our friend Jeremy, has this idea that everyone is like pre or post fall. Where are you?
You familiar with this concept?
No.
So he says you can instantly tell if someone has had their downfall, had their darkest moment. They've been through the ringer. They got chewed up and spit out by Silicon Valley or private equity or whatever industry they were in, and you can tell that this person is now they've been humbled, and so they're ready to build back appropriately, not get over their skis, and then you can also see the type of founders. It becomes a massive advantage, and then you also see the founders that are sort of pre-fall, and they're doing a lot of things that you're like,
this is like the
you better get lucky.
24-year-old who's like on a crazy tear. Has raised
money
like
showed up for free.
up
They're
rounds,
spending it,
and then suddenly like the business stops growing, like execs are leaving, things like that. But I'm wondering if there was like this like crucible moment for you before this latest run that you've been on.
So two answers. One is I'll reject the premise, but just because I don't like to say it's super binary, right?
Yeah.
Like people are either before or after the hard thing in their life. It's like I think people have lots of hard shit that happens at different seasons in their life. Yeah. Like I've lost everything 2 times. Like
two falls
twice. But like that, then it's like, okay, am I now post fall? It's like, well, I mean, I hope that nothing bad ever happens to me again, but I'm pretty sure bad shit's going to happen to me again. And so I just commit to not stopping.
Yeah.
Controlling the controllable. And that's basically all I can do.
Do you have a good answer to pithy advice for young people? We got asked this on a podcast recently, and it was like the closing question. It was like, you got 1 minute. And I was like, you could talk for hours. Like, where do you even start? How do you think about packaging information like that? And I actually want your advice for young people if you have one thing.
It's so hard too.
It's so hard.
Like work hard, it's like good general advice, but then I've been in points in my life, and I know people that are like working hard on like the dumbest thing ever, and like that
Everything
ends up
has
being
so
the
much
worst thing
nuance.
that they can do. Yeah.
Well, I think so. What you accomplish is a direct output of the volume of activity that you do multiplied by the leverage of the activity itself. And so you have to pick the right boat. You have to pick the right opportunity based on your goals. Some people only want to make $1 million. Some people want to make 10. Some people want to make 100. Some people make $1 trillion. Like everyone has different. So like the leverage that what's interesting about that is that you just get to pick, and it's going to be hard no matter what. I think Naval said this thing where it was like it's really hard to build a restaurant that's really successful. It's also really hard to build a $1 billion unicorn. They're both can be 80-hour weeks, and so and Stuart Schwarzman from Blackstone said like you might as well play big because level 10 talent is only attracted to level 10 opportunities. It's harder to attract good people for bad opportunity because then you got to do it all yourself. Which is why I have so much respect for some of the guys like Piggy and Andrew Chung, who are Mr. and Mrs. Panda Express.
Yeah.
Dude, deca-billionaires selling chicken.
Passive
right?
royalty.
Dude, like, but like so much respect for that level of grit. 45 years selling orange chicken, right? All that to say, you will pick based on the level of awareness that you have at that time. Where it gets more difficult is that you learn more shit as you go and you realize that there are higher leverage opportunities. The difficulty is that if you're 4 years into one thing, year 5 of an existing thing that you have 4 years of reps on versus year 1 of even a slightly better opportunity, you have to compare year 1 versus year 5 of the other one, not year 1 versus year 1, because time you can't get back. And so that's where the compounding of getting better at something at some point does have outsized returns, even if it's an inferior vehicle.
Yeah, talk about that idea of you're an A+ operator, but you're going after a C+ opportunity. How do you assess your opportunity? Because I feel like I run into people who are working on A+ opportunities, and everyone will say that's the dumbest idea ever. You're going to put couches, it's going to be called Airbnb. That makes no sense, right? And then it's a boom, and it's huge. And then simultaneously, you can be working on a terrible idea, but if you went and got a puff piece in Business Insider and Forbes, it's like your parents are like, "Oh, it's amazing, good job."
Well,
even if you're grinding and it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, the way I look at it is like in every single category, there's an amazing business. And the funny thing everyone thinks about like Airbnb as like the dumb idea when it's like it wasn't a dumb idea. It just seemed ridiculous. And that's very different than like somebody that like chooses apparel as a category, which everyone knows is like structurally really, really, really challenging, really, really competitive. Yes, there's like 100 companies in the world that absolutely print, and if you're one of those companies, then you're great. But some people like choose apparel, and then 3 years in, then they understand the competitive dynamics, and they're like, I'm in a shitty business. I think that's very different than like choosing the thing that seems silly, even though Airbnb at this point is now like the best business, right?
Sure.
Massive scale, network effects, a great product, all these things. But
I think if you look at the marketplace that you're trying to get into, there's usually going to be a bolus of businesses at some part, and that gives you some idea of where the difficulty in that business is. And so, like, for example, if you're going to get into, I want to start a social media marketing agency, it's like, well, there's a bolus at the bottom, and then very few who ascend to the top, and it's because it's really, really difficult operationally, because if you're really good at marketing, then you can usually make enough money to not work at one of those types of businesses, and so you're constantly you have to be so good at ops and so good at marketing and branding and sales in order to just slowly get these bigger and bigger accounts, and you kind of level up the types of customers that you can go after, because all those businesses go after SMBs, and SMBs are inherently volatile, and so even if you do a great job, they'll still cancel, and so it's just a churn and burn business.
Yeah, not to mention your flagship client will eventually say like, hey, we're spending $100,000 on this service, we could hire 5 people that are the best in the world at what they do, and they'll just focus on us. Let's do that instead.
Yeah, like there are impediments to that business scaling. Can you do it? Absolutely. But I'm just a huge advocate of just look at what the biggest version of that business looks like, because this is obviously a more tech forward show, but like the vast majority of businesses are not tech businesses. Yeah. Right? There's like HVAC businesses all over the place. There's pool cleaners. There's a lot of shit you can do for money. Yeah. And so unless you want to be a trillionaire, like you can be a billionaire in just about any boring business. You look at what's his name? Is it Brad Jacobs?
Yeah.
6 times over.
Yeah.
Make a few $1 billion.
Yeah, a few, and then he has a sequel, a few more billion.
You guys are very. Yeah, I never thought of you as
home building materials.
Yeah, there's just a lot of businesses out there, and so it just depends on like what the goal is. But any business done for like zooming all the way out, if you do one thing for 40 years and you get better every year, you're going to fucking dominate. And so on some level, going after the tech opportunity, though they're for sure are the big mega winners, it's easier to compete against the people who are going after the pool cleaners. There's less sophisticated players, there's less capital, and so having a little bit of street smarts and a lot of work ethic can get you pretty far there. And you look at that compared to you look at the guy who's doing $7 million a year top line, $2.5 million in bottom line, doesn't really work that much, has a crew of guys. Is that the life you want?
Yeah.
Because there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And so I think it's deciding first to the younger guy, like, what do I want? Or what is an acceptable outcome? And then what of the many, many paths that are ahead of me have the highest likelihood of me getting there? And then once you pick that path, know that if you stick with that path for 20 years, the likelihood that you fail is basically zero as long as you have some feedback loop for improvement.
Yeah.
That's basically it. Figure out where you want to go. Find the highest likely path of getting there, and then do not let the opinions of strangers or people who do not have what you want dissuade you from getting there.
Yeah. What do you think about, there's this odd trend of entrepreneurship, I don't know, like mindset stuff where you got to be doing sauna, cold plunge, meditation. And I feel like that only makes sense once you're successful. And then you look at the successful people and you're like, well, yeah, the rich guy has a sauna, but what was he doing when he was broke? He was waking up and getting on his laptop. But how have you reacted?
Yeah, rich people fly private, so I should fly private in order to get rich. Right?
It doesn't work.
It's conflation. Yeah. Okay, so at the most basic level, you have to do work.
Yeah.
And if it is not the work, then you have to have a very strong argument that is going to increase your output per unit of time, period. Yeah. And so if you have a 3-hour morning routine, and that's the first 3 hours a day when you're probably the cognitively the freshest, have the most energy, you would have to have an incredible, do you curse on the show?
We don't.
Okay, a credible darn argument.
You're welcome to. Our kids are watching, but by all means.
You have to have an incredible argument for why that's going to improve your output. And so like the morning routine that I'm a big advocate of is you wake up and then you caffeinate.
Sure.
You shut off your distractions and then you begin the work. And how much you can compress the time from waking to beginning work is the ideal. And you are the freshest whenever you are post-sleep.
Yep.
And so if you want to do that stuff, I'm like, by all means, go for it. But just understand, you can. Plenty of people have hobbies. You can have hobbies. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, is this actually? And you also don't need to work 16 hours a day in order to get what you want. I have plenty of friends who are super successful and don't work that much. Yeah. Now, did they work 16 hours a day to get there? Probably. Yeah. And so this is the modeling the rise, not the plateau. And what's difficult is the plateau is what's more visible.
Sure.
What do you think
get
about?
There and then you can make the content.
Yep.
Right. No one's making this part.
No.
What do you think about people sort of staging out their sort of career as an entrepreneur? I was talking to a friend of mine who has something like an agency business in fashion. He's going to do about $1 million this year of profit. It's a fantastic business. He eventually wants to have his own brand. My advice to him is fashion is such a bad business until it's a great business, till you have a flagship brand that takes 20 years to make. I was get your business to a couple million a year, get it established, just a couple million a year profit at least, get it established, get 10, 20 flagship clients that are on sort of long-term contracts, and then basically use that cash flow to invest in your brand. And a lot of people would be give him the advice now of just go all in on the brand. Why are you wasting time with this other thing? Yeah. And I feel that's very that works super well. If you have a trust fund. But for somebody who's 27, let's assume they want to have a family in a few years, I was pushing him to say, make this thing great, even though it's not the thing that you want to be doing for that 40-year chunk of your career. But how would you talk to somebody in that sort of space?
So I don't think there's a right answer because it's all dependent on risk, which is entirely personal.
Yeah.
And so if you want to go balls on the line, that's not cursing, then do it. Go all in. But just understand the risk that you're taking on. And so I would say that that's not a risk that I would take. I would say that I'm relatively...
There's risk to being all in and then not having the capital to actually fuel the opportunity, right? My point of view is you're going to be way higher likelihood of success if you sort of build slow and you can put $500,000 a year of outside capital into the business versus trying to build this brand when you don't have a capital source?
Depends on goal, depends on risk tolerance. Like, I want to be a trillionaire and I'm willing to take the risk, then it's like, yeah, I mean, you should have started yesterday. You know what I mean? But my perspective is I would like to get my oxygen mask on personally. And I've been able to take significantly bigger and bigger bets in my career because they're free swings.
Yeah.
If I lose, my life changes to zero.
Yeah.
And so in thinking about big life changes, what's been really helpful for me is what tactically changes about my life? Do I change what I eat? Do I change what I wear? Do I change where I live? Do I change the car I drive? And do these things matter? Right? Does it change who I'm married to? If none of these things change, then almost none of these decisions are going to actually have a huge impact on my life, which then makes the argument for like maybe I should take a higher risk-adjusted return move. But I would say that from the emotional side rather than the logical side, I very quickly tried to have a nest egg to be like, I'm good.
Yeah.
And that's what's allowed me to take really big bets, like things like school. School's a platform. The likelihood that
oxygen mass is a great way to frame
put that on.
If you're going to be,
if you want, and if you have responsibilities too, if you're a parent and you've got kids and you've got mortgage and you want a certain lifestyle for them and certain schools that that cost money, then you're also risking their futures to a degree. And so again, it's your decision. But just know what you're putting at risk. And how much is my life going to change if I lose? Keith Cunningham has a great frame on this, which is just what's my upside, what's my downside, and can I live with my downside? If you can't live with the downside, don't take the bet.
You mentioned that the success and the habits are visible at the plateau, but not on the rise. And I agree with you. Like, you're not actually seeing the accurate picture of the up-and-coming entrepreneur, the future trillionaire as it's happening. But at the same time, a lot of businesses increasingly need to do some form of social media on their way up. And the risk there is, like, sometimes companies just get sucked into just being full media companies, or the brand value and the cash flow from the media business outgrows whatever they were doing originally. What is the right balance? How should entrepreneurs think in the modern era? Like, if you're starting a company, consumer product in 2026, what's the right level of social media and actual owned content without it becoming like fake work?
What do you mean by fake work?
Fake work would be like you're growing your following account, but you're not growing your cash flow or your actual.
There's a generation of entrepreneurs, and like you're probably a huge driver of this that are like I need to build my personal brand.
Yeah.
And they don't realize that like if they just make an amazing product that millions of people benefit from, they just default get the personal brand, and they could just, if you care about like attention and being on camera, then you could just do that later, but maybe just make something amazing.
And also, your personal brand is an actual media company that has cash flow and is like a successful business.
You wouldn't. I don't think you would be like on camera if you weren't making money.
No, I wouldn't. I hated it. It was very hard for me to decide to do this.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people that are basically doing the media for the clout, and they think it's fake work because they're justifying the clout chasing by saying, oh, it's marketing for my business.
If what you do does not translate into the money that you make, and money that you make is the goal, then you are doing work that is not effective. If, to the example you gave earlier, if you start a business and you get better at media and the media is making more money than your existing business, then maybe you're better at media than you were at your business. And maybe that should be your business. And so I think constantly being flexible about reassessing what the market wants versus what you have. I think Bezos says this, but determined on goal and flexible on path, or whatever way he says that. And he's also a great example of what's Bezos' personal brand. Well, everyone knows who he is. Does he make a lot of content? No. Why? He just happens to own Amazon, right? And so I think it depends on what sphere you want to get into. This is kind of interesting. If you were to say, I want to be a big B2B influencer, you cannot be a big B2B influencer without evidence that you are good at business. Period. You could take, and there's plenty of people who take word for word the stuff that I say.
There's probably some good counterexamples to that. We don't need to name them.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
Like,
anyway, there's people that
I would say the biggest B2B influencer right now is Elon.
Oh, sure.
Right, and he also has the biggest business and is the richest man. Right, and I think that just cascades all the way down. The only reason that, I had a podcast that started in July of 2017. That's when I started. It was called Gym Secrets, and I rebranded it as just The Game. But as I continued to make it, we went from 2,000 downloads a month to millions. When I sold my company for $46.2 million, and then people were like, "Oh, this guy actually knows what he's talking about." And then the brand took off because I had evidence.
Legitimacy.
And so I think that the amount of legitimacy that you need to be an influencer depends on the risk that the consumer has in taking action on the nature of the content that you're making. And so if I'm a beauty influencer, if I buy lipstick or I do a lash technique, I'm getting waters I'm not familiar with here. You paint your face in some way, right? The risk is relatively low.
Sure.
Right? Now you move a little bit over here and you got like personal finance. Well, it's like, well, who's the biggest there? Dave. And then there's some of the new age ones, Erica Colbert. She's got her, but she was also and there's Vivian too, I think. But like they have some credibility behind, and like there's tons. Like if a teacher is in her basement talking about how you should invest in the S&P 500 and says exactly what Warren Buffett says, and maybe they even say it a little bit more compelling than the way that Warren Buffett says, they won't be Warren Buffett because they just forgot to build Berkshire Hathaway.
Sure.
And so it's like the proof is the pudding. I think, at least my perspective on media is the proof is the pudding, but it varies in terms of how much proof you need. Now, if you're ugly as shit, very hard to be a beauty influencer.
Yeah.
Tough.
Is that way,
but if you can but if you are ugly and then you paint your face so well that you become hot, then you absolutely, because you have evidence, right? And you have a more dramatic performance. No, 100%. This is how it works. Yeah.
I like that. Talk about status seeking.
Okay.
It seems like in Silicon Valley, there's often, Naval talks about this, like there's value.
Just Silicon Valley.
Well, that's what I want to know. In Silicon Valley, there's a lot of trend chasing, there's a lot of status seeking, and there's value in like doing low status activities. And I'm wondering in mid-market entrepreneurship, small businesses, like what is the shape of that? Is it different than Silicon Valley? Is it less pronounced, more pronounced? Like what is the version of, look, you just need to run a series of golf courses and be happy with that type of thing, or whatever the equivalent is?
I think it depends on who they compare themselves to. I think it just comes down to that. I think tech guys compare themselves to other tech guys, and they want approval from tech guys, and so they do the activities that tech guys approve of.
Yeah.
If you're an HVAC guy, then you're going to do the activities that HVAC people think are cool, if they're the peer group that you actually compare yourself to, which they might not be.
Yeah.
And to be fair,
I love the tech guys that sell their business for 9 figures and then are like, I need a cash flowing lifestyle business ASAP.
I know a lot of them.
A
lot. Like a crazy amount. Like buying gas stations. Like it's a lot.
How bad is that?
Bad? What do you mean?
Like, because I imagine it's a grass is greener on the other side thing, where they enjoyed building their business, they sold it, they have all this cash, but they want cash flow, they want the stability of the cash flow, and so they want the idea of running a small business.
Check every month.
And they don't, exactly, but they don't think about what it means to, like, at 2 a.m. your gas station got robbed and you got to go down there and sort it out with the cops or something like that. And so I'm wondering about, like, what is the actual lesson there for someone who's like about to get over their skis?
Yeah, I think humans are inherently dissatisfied.
Okay.
And I think whatever you have, you want what you don't have. And so if you're married, you're like, life would be different if I was single. If you're a parent, you're like, can you remember when we didn't have kids? And if you don't have kids, you're like, I wish I had kids.
Yeah.
If you're an employee, you're like, man, I wish I would be an entrepreneur. And somebody you're an entrepreneur, you're like, man, it would be so nice to just show up and clock out at 5 and have to think about it and get a check. Like we just always, we want the benefits of a trade-off without the negatives of the trade-off.
Sure. Yeah.
And so when guys are in the cash flow business, because that's who I talk to the majority of the time, is like what they're thinking about all the times is like, it's hard to sell this business. I'm not really building my net worth. The multiples that I'm going to get on this aren't going to necessarily be that high. I'm dealing with people all day. I deal with low skilled labor, and I've got churn issues or finding techs that aren't going to show up drunk on the job. Like there's like one of my favorite quotes of all time. I'm going to try not to cuss on this one, but my CFO was. Deep South Texas when we were in Texas when we were building Gym Launch. Suzanne Shiflett, shout out to Suzanne. She was the reason we were able to sell Gym Launch. She had been a CFO for 4 companies from 1 to 100 million plus. Had done a $5 billion exit, and I think she'd been either buy side or sell side over 20 times. Wow. She was just like just so weathered in a good way, right? And she said, "You know what, Alex?" She's like, "It's all shit." She's like, it's all shit. Every business is shit. It's all shit. And it was so, like she said it with so much sincerity because I was like, at the time, I was like, man, it'd be cool if we got this kind of multiple, blah, 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 blah. And she was like, it just doesn't, it all sucks. And it's just different type of suck, but it all sucks.
Yeah.
Be satisfied.
We're at time, but give us a pitch for Scale or Fail.
If you like seeing entrepreneurs try their absolute hardest and have a completely new paradigm shift in 90 days to scale their business the most, then watch the show. I meet with them for an hour, give them a whole blueprint of what I would do if I bought the business 100% today. And then they execute and they compete.
I love it.
Amazing. So reminds me of PMF or Die.
Yeah.
We experimented with the show last year. It
Talk
was
about
like
niche audience.
Yeah, it was like we put this team in an apartment in New York. They were not allowed to leave for 90 days until they build $1 million ARR business. It descended into chaos, and
It was Lord of the Flies. Lord of the Flies situation for
no,
sure.
it was totally crazy. And we were like, we don't have time to do this and this.
But it had like hundreds of people watching at all times. It was actually gripping.
And it was just
crazy.
a live stream of them in the apartment, just like cooking.
Yeah,
It was,
but one of them got really good at talking to chat. It was a whole thing. It was sort of opened us up to like live
that was a
opportunities.
good
It's crazy.
example because like one of them clearly was like a gifted content
Yep.
creator, and the other one was like, "Why am I on camera? This is
Yeah,
terrible."
this is terrible.
Did he become a content creator?
No,
we got to
please.
check in
Yeah,
with
we
him.
got to check in with him.
should.
He
But they're both
took a
very
vacation and
talented.
traveled a little bit.
Yeah, they
after.
both
It
needed
was-
to like
they needed a
disconnect.
break.
It was,
but yeah, lots of success.
so don't do the show live. Then people will
yeah,
actually
yeah.
go
The
crazy.
edit is a gift.
This was
sometimes.
awesome.
Yeah, dude.
This is
Pleasure,
great.
man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on. This is great. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes.
Talk soon.
Congratulations on everything.
Oh, I appreciate it. Congrats to you guys. Appreciate it.
Well, our next guest is about to join us. I need to put my headphones back on. We have Josh from CIV on his Financial Times argument that data centers are the industrial test of the
Here he
AI
is.
era. Here he is.
What's up, guy?
Josh Zelfer.
happening?
How are you doing? Welcome to the
Good.
show.
How are you guys?
We're doing great. We were just hanging out talking to Alex Hormozi. How is your day going?
It's good. I'm up in San Francisco. I'm actually in the Mercor
sorry to
office
hear that.
right
Oh,
now.
no way. Huge numbers
Yeah,
out
I
of
know.
Mercor
I know.
recently.
I live in LA, so usually I'd love to do this in person, but
Next time.
up in the Bay today,
Next time.
suffering through the cold weather.
So take us through the thesis of the latest piece you put together. I have a bunch of questions, but I'd love for you to sort of reiterate the thesis statement for the audience first.
Yeah, I mean, the thesis is really kind of three things. Point one is we are living through this era where we are on the losing end of a bunch of supply chain dependencies in areas like rare earths, permanent magnets, critical minerals, and just, manufacturing and industrial capacity more broadly.
Yeah.
And that is a result of choices, in part, that we made in the 1980s and 1990s, as well as policies that China undertook to try to pull all of that capacity into China. That now I think
Quickly,
everybody...
When you say choices we made, is we, the U.S. government, WTO ascension of China, that choice, or are we talking about choices made by the free market? A company just says, I'm choosing to buy from China because it's cheaper and I don't care about my supply chain.
I think it's a little bit of both. I would say, starting in the 1980s, we had a big wave of offshoring where companies, large American companies, intentionally moved production into places like China because they wanted to move it off balance sheet, take advantage of lower labor costs, looser environmental regulations abroad. And then as well, I think, we didn't do ourselves any favor with, the trade policies that we have pursued over the last, call it 30 years before we realized what had happened. So point one is, when you have sort of systemically important industries and you push them overseas, you never know what's going to happen. You could find yourselves on the losing end of really important supply chains and technologies.
Yeah.
Point two is, I think, there's a real risk that if we stop or pause the construction of data centers or make it really hard to do that in the United States, we could find ourselves in a very similar position, right? That data centers are not just, piles of chips, but there are also important other technologies, power electronics like transformers and switchgear, the kind of stuff that our portfolio company Giga Energy makes, as well as, more basic industrial inputs like steel. And that stuff has to be made somewhere. And today, because of the shortages for a lot of those goods, as well as the fact that, data centers are at the very cutting edge and they're financed by some of the deepest pocketed developers on the planet, there's a willingness both to pay for faster and more advanced technology. And so companies that, like Giga are both able to do some of this stuff in America in a way that wasn't possible or wouldn't be possible without this kind of generational demand pull. And there's also demand for new technologies, things like, optical links or solid state transformers that, now there's sort of a chance for the US to get ahead. And again, because there's a source of demand to pay for it all. And then point three is, again, because these are sort of some of the deepest pocketed corporations out there, financing all of this, that to the extent there are trade-offs in the form of things like higher energy costs that in some cases do arise when data centers are built, that can be solved by having the hyperscalers pay for some of that. And so I think there's a better outcome here, one that better advantages or supports America's long-term economic competitiveness than just saying, we don't want to do this here, let it be done offshore.
Do you have an idea of a thesis, particularly around why America is currently so strong in data center construction? It feels like when I count up the gigawatts, America is doing fantastically. We are in the lead. Of course, I agree with you on everything. We got to hold the lead, but I want to retreat to the source of strength that got us here in the first place, because when you tell the story of there's going to be a new industry, it's going to be industrial, and it's going to really start in 2000 and run until 2026. If you had said shoes, I would have said that's going to happen in China. If you had said any other piece of the economy, I would have said that absolutely would have been pushed offshore, pushed out of the United States. And yet we got here to this place where we do have, Virginia and AWS and GCP and Azure and so many massive campuses. And the question is really just, are we going to go bigger? But why didn't we build the data centers abroad in the last 2 decades before there was all this discussion about near-peer competition, geopolitics? It feels like that would have been the natural choice, and yet we did choose to build here throughout the last 2 decades.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think it really comes down to 2 things. One is that even today still, latency really matters, right? If you are trying to serve customers that care about getting their data or their inference as quickly as possible, you need data centers to be sort of, close to the customers they're being served.
Yeah.
I think there's a real chance, for what it's worth, that matters less and less over time as inference workloads become more agentic, right?
Yeah.
Like agents don't care if they have to wait 5 seconds. If you're away from your computer for 2 hours running a long query, and it takes a little longer because the data center is somewhere else, you're not going to notice that. Yeah. And so I think, to me, what that means is these supply chains are going to be formed today, right?
Yeah.
The data centers are being built today. The factories that supply them are being set up today when speed and reliability and industrial capacity matter. And so I think there's also a real risk that if we wait and those supply chains are built somewhere else, it's going to be really hard to reverse this. And the point I'm trying to make with the rare earths comparison is, like, we know how devastating that can be. Let's think really hard before we make that mistake again.
When you think about the rare earth situation, it feels like a lot of that stems specifically from China's leverage over the United States. I think it would be a very different discussion if it was Canada or Germany. And when I think about the AI supply chain, I go to Zeiss and Trumpf and ASML and TSMC and SK Hynix, and I'm in Western countries. Do you think that there is a discussion to be had about the sphere of influence beyond America, but in the West, where we can partner on data center construction reliably, or is it actually critical to have the vast majority of data centers built out within the 50 states?
I don't think they have to be in the 50 states, for sure. I think there's definitely room to collaborate with allies, both in where the physical data centers are located, as well as in the supply chains. Right? We're not going to make every single thing that goes in every single data center in the United States. But I would say maybe 2 things that concern me. One is, it came out a couple of weeks ago that the Chinese government is reportedly planning a $295 billion fund for data center construction. Yes. So the Chinese government, unsurprisingly, because they run this play before, they get it, right? They understand how important all of these technologies and supply chains are. The second is today. There are lots of important pieces of the data center supply chain, from the GPU manufacturing at places like TSMC to the ASML EUV lithography machines that really can only be made in Western allies like Taiwan and the Netherlands. I think if the history of industrial development tells us anything, it's that we can't rely on that being true forever. And so, taking action today to make sure that, while there's a chance to take advantage of this capacity and this demand to build next generation technology, industrial capacity in the United States when these technologies aren't commoditized and can't be bought more cheaply from a place like China is kind of, it's an important window of opportunity. And if we miss that opportunity, again, I think there's a world where we really regret it. That doesn't mean just we should build all the data centers, we should have no restrictions, no regulations. I think that would be a big mistake. And I think that is a way to politically get wrong-footed and generate a lot of opposition, which is why it's important that some of these energy costs be moved onto developers, as well as things like environmental restrictions being put in place to make sure that we do this the right way. But I think it's important that to me the lesson of the rare earth example is you've got to balance these things, right? It can't be all of one or all of the other.
Last question. You wrote this in the Financial Times. It clearly will land with a geopolitically minded audience, but while I agree with a lot of what you said, I can't imagine it translating very well to everyday American voters who see AI as very deeply unpopular. How are you thinking about the jumps and the translation layer that needs to happen to actually get American voters on board with this plan?
Yeah, I mean, look, to me, first of all, completely agree. I think there's a real opposition to data centers in part because, yes, they're big and they can be kind of ugly. But the reality is, my view is a lot of that has to do with the fact that they are the physical representation of AI. Right?
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
that.
If you look at the
what's
Instagram comments, you can very clearly tell that the vast majority of people that are commenting on data center bad content have never seen a data center. They're nowhere near one. They might live in a major city that they don't even see them. But
yeah, you can see data centers putting up signs that say "No AI served here."
Yeah, but they don't like the idea of they're losing a job or losing out financially or watching companies get even bigger than they already are. All of that. So yes, it's a referendum. But then, how do you bridge that gap?
Yeah, I think it's really a few things. One is when a data center is built, right, making sure that if we have policies in place that push data center developers to build their own clean generation and ultimately connect it to the grid, that having a data center could mean your energy costs go down, right? So that's point one, is make the localized costs go away, and that's something that's very achievable.
Yep.
Point two would be, I think when we talk about what the effects of AI on the labor market are going to be, I think taking a more reasoned view than just saying, oh, it's going to wipe out 50% of all white collar jobs by some date that's not that far in the future. I think the evidence is pretty mixed and the jury is still out, and we have a lot of chances to use public policy tools to make sure that that's not the case, and to tell a sort of a more balanced story and ensure that the American people know that it is not going to be job apocalypse, and that it's going to be the kind of transition that other large technology transitions have been, where over time the composition of the labor force changes, but ultimately it's a source of growth and a source of new job creation. Yeah. And then the last one, and this is really the point I'm trying to get across in this article, is there are lots of parts of a data center, from the steel to the transformers, that need to be made somewhere in a factory, and somebody's going to be working in those factories, and there is a real opportunity to make sure that those jobs are American jobs. And that's something that I would also be in favor of using public policy to encourage, not just because those jobs themselves are valuable, but also because the industrial capacity they represent is valuable, and for all the reasons that we all know that reindustrialization is important. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. Actually, while the data center doesn't have that many people working inside of it, the supply chain is very deep and complex. So that makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for taking the time to come chat with us.
Yeah, great to have you on, Josh.
Have a great rest of your week.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Enjoy
We'll talk to you soon. Cheers. Let me tell you about Shopify. Shopify is the commerce platform that grows with your business and lets you sell in seconds online, in store, on mobile, on social, on marketplaces, and now with AI agents. Our next guest is John Michelone. Did I say that correctly? From American Turbines?
You're close. McElhone.
Welcome to the show. How are you doing? First time on the show. Please introduce yourself and the company.
My name is John McElhone. My company is called American Turbines. We build small turbines for rapid deploy energy generation.
Okay. How small are we talking? How can I think about this? Help me place it in the world. How much energy is it generating?
Yeah, so you could probably fit one in the back of your pickup truck. A few of them, actually.
I like that.
Ours are about 1 megawatt in size, our first units.
Yeah.
So you can think about a megawatt could probably power about just over 1,000 homes. In the back of a pickup truck. So they're tiny, but they pack a big punch. They're quite power dense.
Yeah, and then talk about the supply chain and the actual energy source. These run natural gas. What are the inputs to actually getting energy?
Just natural gas.
Okay.
You know, that's why we're called American turbines, because the United States is very uniquely advantaged compared to the rest of the world. Best place in the world to use natural gas. We have such an amazing supply of it. It's extremely cheap, and we have a lot of resource that we haven't tapped yet. So this company just works well in the States. You know, it wouldn't work in Europe. It wouldn't work in Russia or China. It just works here.
Yeah. So what does the team look like? What does the manufacturing look like? Are these like handmade at this point? I mean, it's a young company. Take us through a little bit of the history. I mean,
handmade American turbine.
I mean, I imagine that it's not fully lights out robotic factory yet, but maybe that's the vision in a few years. But where are you today?
We're pretty small. We're a small team. There's a few of us on board right now. We are hiring, so check out our website if you want to roll. But yeah, right now it's just handmade. But the goal here is really being able to make something you can mass manufacture. Like that's the end goal. Everybody is more so worried about time to power. How quick can you get some energy generation in the ground? And the only way to really achieve that is figuring out automation at scale and how to make a product at scale. That's kind of where we failed at turbines over the years. They're all kind of derived from aircraft, and you have to kind of be stringent to the standards of the FAA, and it has to be able to travel at 600 miles an hour.
Sure.
We sort of work back from these systems and understand how do we make this on the ground. But what we're trying to work out is like the opposite way. Like just make it for the ground. Make something very simple. It doesn't have to be efficient. It doesn't have to last forever. You don't have to run this at 600 miles an hour, 30,000 feet in the air. Because the problem that you're really solving is really just energy generation at scale.
Can you? Sorry, Jordy, please.
What were you doing before this? How did you kind of end up in this category? And what was the backstory on becoming a Teal Fellow?
What was I doing before this? I did a company called Crop Safe. We built farm tech software. You know, of all things, it's quite the pivot, I must say. But quite different. And kind of how I fell into American turbines and why I'm doing this now is, you know, I finished up that last company, and I realized that all my free time I just spent, you know, mechanicking stuff. You know, all the cars I've worked on or have owned over the years have just been 70s cars, and they're very mechanical machines. My dad's a mechanic. Spent a lot of time working with him. I flew planes pretty young as a kid, so I'm quite familiar with how the turbine works, how it put together, what people we need to hire to make it happen. So I figured, you know, my next company should be something that is fun and exciting and cool, and I can scale and I can work with hardware. And I think it's very hard to compete with founders that just, you know, just like this stuff. Like the car behind me, you can see the K truck. That's my car.
There you go.
And it's got a jet engine.
I want one of those. I want one of those trucks so bad. Every time I see a video of one, I send it to my wife. I'm like, we need one.
I love it. Can you get me up to speed on intellectual property in this category? Like, I imagine that there's a patent that existed maybe a long time ago on a turbine. Like, can you build on the shoulders of giants? Like, how do you actually create something that you can own that can't be disassembled and copied? Or is it sort of a free-for-all?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of patents. Same with any hardware piece. There's a bunch of patents.
Yeah.
But things with patents are very specialized. The turbine isn't actually very hard. It is hard to make, but it's not very complicated. Our system will probably have less than 40 parts in it. So that's quite small. So it's not crazy. The product itself at American Turbines isn't, I don't see it, the turbine itself is like, we're going to have a bunch of IP on this. We're going to spend 6 years filing patents. And we're going to have this like specialized thing we're going to have in a few years. That sucks. That's what a lot of people are doing with like supercritical stuff and a lot of specialized turbines. It's just like you're waiting 5 years for what? So our product, I see in the future is really just the manufacturing at scale, like our factory. Like that's really what Henry Ford was able to do with the Model T. Like the product wasn't the car. It was kind of the promise that with the process of manufacturing at scale and these assembly lines, we could create a whole new industry of transportation. And it worked for him. And we kind of need the same for energy. Is we need to figure out how to produce at scale. And you can only do that in kind of automated ways that we're focusing on.
Amazing. Well, congratulations on the launch. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Day.
Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Be back on soon.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, John.
Let me tell you about the New York Stock Exchange. Want to change the world? Raise capital at the New York Stock Exchange. Just do it. Stop making excuses and do it. Our next guest is Dina Shakir from Lux Capital. She's a partner there. She's been on the show before, and we're very excited to have Dina back on the show. How are you doing?
Hey guys, great to see you.
Great to see you too.
Welcome back.
Give us the latest on the portfolio investments. Also, I mean, I want to zoom out at some point and just take your temperature on how things are going in the private markets and the AI boom. But first, give us the latest and greatest.
Absolutely. Well, we've got a lot of exciting stuff going on all the time, and there's definitely no summer lull, as you know, and are reporting on anywhere in venture, and certainly not here at Lux.
Yeah.
We had
You
a
think
big
even by
announcement.
August, I think we could be seeing a bit of a lull. I feel like it's always like it feels crazy, and then you get to mid-August, and it's like, okay.
Maybe that's wishful thinking on your part, guys. I don't know if you're going to be taking that August vacation. It's definitely lots of excitement, lots of activity. Our partner meetings are filled with deal pitches, and we've got announcements coming up, nearly every day here. So there's a lot going on.
That's great.
Especially in the world of AI.
Yes. What's the latest in the world of AI?
Well, I'm excited to talk about one of our newest investments that we just announced last week. It's actually our very first investment in the GCC, a company called 1001. We had the chance to invest really early. We were there when it was just Bilal and an idea and the seed round, have been following it closely and preempted the Series A $30 million round in partnership with early investors, including GC and CIV, and Sanabel actually joined us as well. I'm super excited about the opportunity for applied AI in the Gulf.
Yeah, what does what is the status quo of software in the critical infrastructure space? Like, you hear about these massive machines from Siemens, and I imagine that there's some maybe web-based dashboard for something or other, but are those companies asleep at the wheel? Is there just so much opportunity that you can do a yes-and solution where it's not a rip and replace, but it's an additive functionality for critical infrastructure managers and companies? Like, what is the shape of the job to be done?
Yeah, I mean, there's a real greenfield opportunity, especially in the region. It's going to come down to the application layer, to deployment. This is, not a novel concept. There's a lot of discussion right now about the distribution advantage. We're sort of moving beyond the moat of models into actually who can deploy on the ground with partners. And what's exciting about the GCC is, of course, we think about them a lot as investors, right? There's a lot of money coming in from the UAE, from Saudi, from Qatar, and elsewhere into these companies. But the idea of a homegrown company that is built for the GCC, which is a true global hub, clearly not only on the investing side, but actually on the customer side, where there's an opportunity for, really fast, massive, multi-$100 billion types of deployments at scale, something that you really don't see anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, really quickly, we gotta hit the gong. It came in the middle of an answer, so I didn't get a chance to do it. But Jordy, please.
Yeah, what is deal flow like coming out of the Gulf? Like, I can't imagine it's more than like 10% of the opportunities you're seeing, maybe like 5%. But how are you evaluating those opportunities?
And do you go there, or do they come here? How does that work?
Do their money comes here, but then their entrepreneurs, do they come and do a roadshow here, or what is
it's still really early days. There of course have been companies innovating in Dubai and all over the Gulf for quite some time. This is our first investment in 25 years. That's a company headquartered there. Certainly we have a lot of companies that are doing business there, or companies that have gotten investment from the region, but it's still early days. What's really exciting about this company, among many other things, is the founder and the founding team, and this thesis that they have around the diaspora. So how can they catalyze some of the best and brightest entrepreneurs from the region who have worked in the US? Bilal, the founder and CEO, was born in Jordan, studied computer science at Yale, worked for many years at scale, helped to grow their business in the region, had the opportunity to do anything, and saw that there was this incredibly unique opportunity to build a homegrown sovereign AI company focused on the GCC. When we invested, it was just him and an idea, and he has attracted some of the best and brightest. It has been such a joy just to watch the incredible talent that he's amassed around him, and that was one of the early signals for us to really double down.
What are the key stops on the calendar in the Gulf these days? If you're in America, you might go to Liquidity by the All In team. You might go to SF Tech Week, Milken, Sun Valley. What are the key stops if you're investing or doing business in the Gulf?
Well, the big one, especially in the last few years, has been FII, which takes place in the fall in Saudi, in Riyadh. It's known as Davos in the desert to some. So that's a big one, and many people do a trip around that. Where Milken does a big summit as well in Abu Dhabi. And a lot of folks are doing global conferences and actually creating their own versions in the Gulf, because there is a lot of opportunity, again, not just on the investing side, but actually now increasingly on the talent side. And we're excited to be at the forefront of that.
Yeah, Web Summit's out there too, but tough
Web
branding
Summit in Qatar,
because AI killed the web, and the web doesn't even really exist anymore. But they need to rename it
Never too
AI.
late
They
to
should just
rename
rename
AI
AI
Summit.
Summit. There you go.
Well, then
That'll be
AI will be out of date. We're going to have to just be constantly changing the names for all of these.
Potentially. How are Gulf-based companies pricing relative to San Francisco-based companies?
Honestly, I think the global market for these companies, for the absolute top tier of talent, is pretty consistent, and it really just comes down to that team. It's not about being Gulf-based. There's no discount for a founder like Bilal. When you see that talent for a generational company, the prices are going to look like they do for generational companies anywhere in the world. He's headquartered between London and Dubai. Has attracted talent from all over the world, including many folks actually, from Silicon Valley as well. So no discount there,
I'm
but
sure
also
DeepMind's a feeder in London, like in the
DeepMind
UK.
is a feeder. There's really no limit on the opportunity. Lots of great alums coming out of Scale as well.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Well, congratulations on the latest news, and thank you so much.
Looking forward to meeting him.
Coming on and talking to us.
You've got to have him
couple
on. He's
minutes.
excellent. Great
Awesome.
to see you guys.
We'd
Thanks
love
for
to.
having
Good
me.
to see you.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much.
the
We'll
update.
talk to you soon.
Cheers, Dina.
Let me tell you about Cisco. Critical infrastructure for the AI era. Unlock seamless real-time experiences and new value with Cisco. And our next guest is on an absolute tear. He's back on the show, Hussein Fazal from super.com. How are you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me
Welcome to
back.
the show. Absolutely incredible run. Give us the numbers. Give us the news. What happened? I want to hit the gong. We might have to hit the gong.
Very, very
Might be a
exciting.
double.
So
What'd you do?
we just raised our Series D, $65 million, led by TPG at a $1 valuation.
How much?
Incredible.
What was the valuation?
Yeah, 1.2 billion.
Here we go.
We got-
It's warmed up. We warmed up the gong, so now we can do the real hit. I just did the warm-up hit. What is unlocking the growth? Sort of describe the current customer flow, the current product, and how you're actually scaling revenue so quickly.
Yeah, so the app is a savings super app.
Yeah.
So the vision is eventually anytime you want to buy anything, you're opening the app. And it's going to be able to either get you the best price, get you the best cash back, redirect you to the right spot. So when the company started 10 years ago, it just started with hotels, and it was all about saving 20 to 30% on hotels. And yeah, it's been 10 years, right? And we just added more ways to save. So you can open the app now. You can save on gas, on insurance, on pharma, on a whole bunch of stuff. We've added financial services. So you could go and swipe your card and get cash back and build your credit score. You can even take out a bit of cash via cash advance if you need to make ends meet. So it really is evolving into this super app. But
Super app.
when I say super app, we're not building
Nominative
WeChat.
determinism.
Yeah. Wait,
We're
you
not building WeChat.
You're not. Oh, you're not building
So
WeChat.
you're not going to be paying government bills. You're not going to be chatting with your friends. So I call it a savings super app. So anytime you want to save money, that's the app you should be open. So kind of staying in that category.
Okay, so then where are the bounds of the savings super app? Because I can imagine savings accounts, then bonds are a form of savings. You can underwrite a mortgage, car loan, like
T-bills.
how risk on can I be with my savings? Can I go levered long?
So what we're not doing is we're not turning into a bank, right? So we're not going to have savings accounts. We're not going to have investment products.
Okay.
When I say savings super app, I mean it's basically like whenever you're spending money, you could be saving by using the app, right?
Yeah.
So you're spending money in a hotel, you can open the app and you can save 30%, right? You're doing your everyday shopping at any store. Well, you could, through a link similar to Rakuten, you could go and shop and you can get cash back. Or you're going to the grocery store, you can use your super.com MasterCard and you can earn cash back. But the difference I would say is a lot of the products we built have been focused on what we call the everyday American, so under 100K household income, right? So what you'll see is, our card functions like a secure charge card. A lot of our customers can't get a traditional credit card that gives them, high cash back, high rewards, but this lets them use the money they have, but still be able to earn 1% cash back. In the app, you'll see the ability to take out a cash advance. So if you're looking to make ends meet, typically, you're going to a payday lender and you're paying really high interest rates, but we'll let you take out kind of a no interest cash advance, and you can go and take money to help you make ends meet. So a lot of the products we've built have been for that demographic, the everyday American.
Got it.
What's something that Super does operationally that you haven't heard of another company doing?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I'd love to talk about AI because that's the theme of the day. I know you guys just got off a conversation about AI. I'll say I think internally we've moved faster or as fast as any other company when it comes to AI adoption. So I'll give you an example. Every once in a while, when I open the app and I see a bug, which is pretty rare, but it does happen, I used to take weeks. So I would take a screenshot, I would submit it, QA person would verify it, an engineer would prioritize it, an engineer would build it, it would then get deployed to staging, then deployed to production. Now I can take a screenshot, I can share it into Slack, and an AI agent will pick it up, fix it, and deploy it to production within minutes. So I think our ability to leverage AI to move fast, that's just one small example, but it's allowing us and enabling us to add more and more ways for our customers to save. We can just build products really fast and find and build more ways for our customers to save faster than ever before.
What's the customer acquisition funnel like? I mean, you're partnering with NASCAR. How broad do you go to reach those everyday Americans? How much is direct to consumer advertising versus brand level advertising? What's the strategy?
Yeah, really good question. So I would say still about 90% of our marketing spend is performance advertising. Now, what I'll tell you is right now, we advertise specific products as opposed to the app as a whole, right? So no consumer is like, oh yeah, the savings super app, I need that in my life. I'm going to go download it right now. Right? Typically what happens is they're looking for something in particular. So they're looking for a hotel and they're like, oh wow, super.com seems to have a great hotel deal, right? Or they're looking to build their credit score for a cash advance and they're like, oh wow, this seems like a product that could be useful to me. And they come in via performance marketing for individual products, and that's how they get introduced. Once they come in, of course, we can then show them other things and other products they can do within the app. So it's about 90% performance, about 10% brand. NASCAR's been great. So that is truly, an everyday American type of sport. And I've gone to a few races. I've spoken to customers directly, and it is a great spot for us to do brand marketing.
How do credit scores interface with what you do? Are you pulling credit scores from the credit rating agencies? Are you delivering information to those agencies to update people's credit scores? What is the flow?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's a bunch of ways in which people can improve their credit scores, but you have it right. So we are reporting to the major credit bureaus. We are pulling that information back so they can see their credit scores. And there's a bunch of things you can do. We can do, rent reporting. We can do it based on the secure charge card. And there's multiple ways to improve your credit score.
Back on NASCAR. What does getting into NASCAR actually look like? Like if a founder is NASCAR curious, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of branding opportunities. So first you have to decide, like, do you want to do brand? Okay. Then you have to decide what kind of brand do you want to do? Do you want to be doing, Subway ads? Do you want to be doing billboards? Do you want to get into sports marketing? Then let's say you've said, okay, I think sports marketing is cool because it has some unique appeal to it and it has very broad reach. Then you got to pick your sport. Right? So you got to look at your demographics and you got to say, am I on the sort of NHL, NBA, sort of like higher mid-income? Am I on sort of like the MLB, NASCAR, which is like mid to lower income potentially? So you got to kind of find the right demographic. And then once you pick a sport, then again, there's a variety of things you can do. You can do a deal directly with NASCAR, in which case we did, and we are the official savings partner of NASCAR. You can also do deals with particular drivers, and you could say, hey, I want to do a deal with you, the driver, and I want this car to be wrapped in Super.com pink, which we also did with Rick Ware Racing and Cody Ware. So there's a bunch of things that you can do, but really it's like any other brand marketing / sports partnership. And I would say my biggest advice is first pick the right demographic before you get into the specific tactics.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on the round. Thank you so much for taking the time to come chat with us.
Yeah, awesome update. Crushing it.
Amazing progress. We'll talk to
Thank
you soon.
you. Appreciate you having me on again.
Of course.
Talk
Have a
soon,
good one.
dude.
Let me tell you about Codex. Codex is a powerful workspace for getting work done with AI agents. Whether you're writing code, analyzing data, creating content, or automating business workflows, Codex helps you move projects forward from start to finish. Did you see this? I don't even know what you call it. Chrome extension. It's a Chrome extension that lets you dim or hide all the mass-produced fake brands on Amazon.
So
it's called
good.
knockoff.
You remember. I was asking for this a year ago. I was like, I want to shop on Amazon just from brands that are over 50 years old.
Yep.
Right? Because that just squeezes out the WNPETHMOE, the AHE. I'm not even going to say that. YXYL, LU and MM, Joyan, Tomy, Godonlift.
Gondolf. That's what it looks like. I have a flurry of sort of slop brands on Amazon, and this
But
Chrome
you don't
extension
like buying from Koo Fandy?
allows you to dim them or even remove them entirely. Of course, a lot of people do their shopping on mobile, so you'll need to fire up the desktop in Chrome with the browser. But if you're doing some serious shopping, probably makes a lot of sense. Pete Oxenham says it's beautiful. He de-slopped Amazon, and it is a nice feature. I can imagine this being very popular. I liked that this little tweaking of your internet experience seems like the good move.
Defined says Chinese airdroppers deserve to make a living too. The funny thing is, I don't think they're airdroppers. They're making the actual products.
They're manufacturers. Drop shippers. Well, what is drop shipping? Drop shipping is where you're using another manufacturer.
You're not even necessarily even holding.
No, this
inventory.
is straight from the factory for sure.
And I respect the hustle. I just I find that a lot of these products I end up not keeping around very long.
Yeah, I love this because I imagine if you get a little bit of a community on here, it will automatically hide or dim or gray out the brands that are suspected to be slop or junk or knockoffs. But you can click on an individual brand and say, trust this brand. This was a false positive. You can block this brand or you can dismiss for this particular item. Maybe it's fine. You can report it as a real brand. So they're going to be able to collect all of that information across the user base and then merge that together. So the system should get smarter over time, I imagine. But who knows how long Amazon allows this to go on. I imagine that the margins on some of these sloppier brands are potentially better, and so there might be a financial incentive to prevent this type of plugin from running roughshod all over Amazon.com. But at least for now, you can go and enjoy it and take it for a spin at knockoff.shopping. Amazon without the knockoffs. Filters out the trademark squat pseudo brands, the SZHLUXs and Hormozi. These are weird brand names. Very, very weird brand names. I'm surprised they don't come up with a normal name. Like if you're going to be a sketchy drop shipper with a knockoff product, it's pretty easy to go to an LLM and say like,
why not just be the silverware company of China?
Yeah, well, that or dog beds. Here the examples are Casper and Carhartt. Come up with another term.
Buddy.
Yeah.
Dog supply company.
There's a bunch of words you could use. I don't know. It doesn't seem like rocket science, and yet it feels like a cat walked across the keyboard with some of these brands. Anyway, go give it a try. Tell us what you think. Fortunately, we have our next guest in the waiting room. Let's bring in John Ney from Norm AI. Welcome to the show, John. How are you doing?
Doing well. Enjoyed that brainstorming session you just had on the naming.
Always.
I mean, I don't really
Always.
come up with anything. Do you have a better,
we didn't
better
get
name
very
for
far.
for a dog bed company? I don't
Wait,
know.
tell us about the name Norm. You just want to say, hey, you don't need to worry about this, the general intelligence company of XYZ. We're just going to give you some normal AI.
Maybe.
Is that the idea?
Yeah, just straight normal AI. It stands for norm, setting the norms for AI,
There you go.
and
Great.
also for normative, for what should be.
Sure. When did you start the company?
Just under 3 years ago.
Okay. And what were the key inflection points that got you to today? How much did you raise? What's the news?
Yeah, so the news is today we raised 120 million at 1.2.
Whoa. Jordy,
Okay.
hit that. There you go. $120 million Series C. Coastal Ventures is in. Valuation's $1.2 billion, not too shabby. But what has growth been like? Who are the key customers? How are you describing the product to them?
Yeah, so what we've done is we started out selling directly to in-house teams. So places like Blackstone, New York Life, mainly large financial institutions.
Sure.
And as we were doing that, we realized the outside counsel opportunity was huge.
Yeah.
So they're spending billions of dollars on outside counsel. So this is for things like fund formation, transactional work, a lot of different things they work with, like Kirkland & Ellis and Simpson Thacher and other firms like that for. Yeah. And as you're working with them, we realized the opportunity of taking the legal AI agents that we were building and then having that power a law firm to be able to serve as outside counsel on those billions of dollars of spend that they're working on would be an amazing opportunity for us, and then also to be more aligned with the clients that we already had.
Yeah, so talk about the key decision to not just supercharge the in-house counsel with effectively a software product, but instead actually spin up a proper partnership. You have an LLP, right?
So Norm Law LLP, it's a partnership. It's a law firm in all the traditional senses, except it sits on top of AI agents that are automating a lot of the first pass of the work.
Yeah.
And so that was a huge inflection point for us because it allows us to power something that can go full stack for the client. And this is actually sort of related to my past. So this is my second company. I was the founder and CEO of another AI company before this. And I just have a proclivity of wanting to just like do the whole thing. In that case, it was an AI company that was selling AI to other asset managers.
Sure.
And I built out a subsidiary that registered with this SEC as an investment advisor. And then we just became an AI powered asset manager ourselves and just did the whole thing. And that company was acquired by TIA Nuveen. So here, similarly, we just want to complete the whole task for the client. So in collaboration with the partners at Norm Law, so we have people that were partners at a lot of the AM Law 20. So they join and then they take the outputs from the AI agents and then they provide legal advice directly to their clients like they would have at another top law firm, but now they do it sitting inside of Norm Law.
And how valuable is the data inside of the law firms versus inside of companies? Because I imagine that has to be a source of strength, a source of a moat, and a big reason why venture capitalists continue to back the business.
Yeah, so the ability to have this vertical integration of the building of the AI and the other software with the using and deployment of it in that really tight feedback loop to iterate and improve it, that's key. So that vertical integration type model. And the data is a big aspect to that. So it's both the data from the operation of the firm and what happens day to day, but it's also just like the qualitative insights about how would we automate something like this, having root access to how it's actually being done and building it side by side, where we're here in the World Trade Center and we have AI engineers sitting right next to lawyers doing their job. That type of feedback loop is invaluable. And we're the only people in the world that can do that because of that really tight integration and collaboration. And so that unlocks our ability to kind of reinvent the whole workflow. So instead of having a co-pilot tool that you can use and get a little bit more efficient, you can from scratch think about from first principles, how would you redesign that workflow internally inside a firm? And then just build that and iterate on it every day together.
Law school student comes to you asking for advice on how to think about their early career. What do you tell them?
Well, I think the general principles of legal reasoning and thinking through things more like theoretically, that's still super valid and useful. And that's almost just like philosophical thinking that's applicable in any area of life. But then in terms of going into specific areas, I think going forward, this notion of what we developed around legal engineering is going to be really important for them to lean into. So that's using their legal knowledge and legal reasoning, but then applying it using AI. So turning different workflows and different domains of legal expertise into AI agents, and then testing them and validating them and deploying them and working super closely with clients around that. I think that's going to be increasingly what they should focus on.
Makes a lot of sense.
How are you thinking about international expansion? Is that something you sort of get for free as the model capabilities advance and the frontier advances, or is that something that is a very considered decision at some point in the future because it'll be a significant burden to bring
You also
on?
get it for free because I'm sure some of the clients are already working
Yeah.
cross border, but
I'm just wondering, like how heavy is that decision to expand internationally?
Yeah, I mean, with the clients that we have now, places like Blackstone that are super international, we get that opportunity, but we don't necessarily build it out because we need to make sure that we have the legal expertise in those jurisdictions.
Sure.
So when you're actually powering the full stack provision of legal services, that's another layer of complexity of this, of having the people that are going to be able to supervise that and put their name behind that and have that relevant expertise. So for us, it is a big decision about when we go to, for example, the UK and other areas that are more relevant to us. We need to do that very deliberately.
Makes sense. Well, congratulations on the fundraise. Thank you so much for coming on the
congrats
show.
to the whole team.
Have a great rest of your week.
And thanks. It felt like we were on vacation for a little bit with this view.
Are you really in the World Trade Center? You're in New York right now?
We're in the World Trade Center. That's New Jersey behind me.
That's beautiful. It looks like
Beautiful New
Miami
Jersey.
almost with the plants and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, enjoy New York. Enjoy the summer.
Thank you.
Have a
All
great
right, thanks, guys.
rest of your
Cheers,
day.
John.
We'll talk to you soon. Goodbye. Let me tell you about MongoDB. What's the only thing faster than the AI market? Your business on MongoDB. Don't just build AI, own the data platform that powers it.
You got anything for me, John?
Well, the main other news is that this is somewhat related to New York and Manhattan. A midtown Manhattan skyscraper under construction is reportedly at risk of collapse. The building was the former Pfizer headquarters on East 42nd Street, and it was evacuated Tuesday morning after the FDNY received reports around 8 a.m. Eastern time of bricks falling from the high rise. When crews arrived, they found two structural columns inside the building had buckled, with floors sagging from the roughly 21st all the way to the 26th floor. So there's 6 floors of sagging. This building seems to be falling apart. Video from inside the site shows columns visibly bent, raising immediate concerns about the stability of the building. So far, thankfully, no injuries have been reported. Let's hope it stays that way. And construction workers have been accounted for. The site was undergoing one of the most ambitious office to residential conversions in New York history. Metro Loft and David Warner Real Estate were converting the former Pfizer complex into roughly 1,500 to 1,600 apartments, with plans to renovate the existing 38-story tower and add more than a dozen new stories to part of the property. Officials have evacuated the construction site and nearby buildings as a precaution. Very, very crazy. City inspectors and engineers are now on site investigating the damage and trying to determine whether the building can be stabilized. They'll need to go and rebuild those columns. For now, commuters are being told to avoid the area. So if you're in New York, stay away from East 42nd Street. I hope everyone is safe there.
Bad day to be doing
chaos.
that conversion.
Yeah, very, very chaotic situation. Anyway.
It's also, imagine trying to sell those apartments after you finish. It's like, oh yeah, moving into the building that was buckling for across 6 different stories.
Yeah. There was a building, was it in San Francisco, the Millennium Tower?
Yeah, TZ says, good day to be a demolition company.
I guess, yeah. There was the Millennium Tower that was it was a fancy high rise in San Francisco, and the foundation like sunk a little bit, and so the whole building was tilted slightly, and so if you put a marble on the ground in these like luxurious apartments, it would roll, and there was a huge lawsuits. I believe that they were able to go do some structural reinforcement and eventually get it back.
Just some saggy floors.
Just some saggy floors. Yeah, lock in. Maybe it's just a mindset issue.
Stop sweating the details.
Okay, what do you think of this? What do you think of this Sunday Light? We've talked about these a few times. Philips launched one, I believe. You're a big fan of these. I want your take on this one. This is the Sunday Light, and Paul Backhouse says it's the closest thing to sunlight that you can buy. He gives it a 10 out of 10. He says, no regrets. It's absolutely bonkers. For reference, this is my actual light at 80% brightness in a room with almost zero outside lights. So I believe it's a sort of translucent disc. Some of the light diffuses, but also a bunch of the light is reflecting, bouncing around, creating sort of a softer feel, softer glow. Are you a fan of this with like the light that hangs down? If you zoom in on the actual light, you will see that there's a little stick. And at the end of that stick is a light emitting diode, an LED that's bouncing off of the disc, the larger disc there. So a little bit more in your face. I'd be worried about hitting my head on that in the middle of the room there, but that's maybe
what
just
aren't
a
you
me
worried
issue.
about hitting your head on, John?
But over the right table, maybe it works. The closest thing to sunlight you can buy. They use titanium nanoparticles to scatter the light the way Earth's atmosphere does. Actual blue sky on your ceiling, 34,500 lumens, water cooled, 95 plus CRI, which is a measure of color quality. Just purchase one to avoid any doubt. Repost it, but I can't vouch for how yet it works. But this man is not sponsored, but he's just stunned this exists. Are you going this, or are you going
into silence? I want to see more experiments like it.
Would you go for this one or the Philips, the one that doesn't have the dangling light?
I'm not actually a customer of either.
Yeah,
but
you're considering it.
But I would be curious to get one of these for the studio.
You get a couple of these and then a couple of the other lights, put them head to head. See which one we want. Anyway.
Well, folks. That's our show.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Leave us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Been an honor.
Sign up for our newsletter, tbpn.com, and we'll see you tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Flashbang.
Goodbye.
We love you.
Have a great week.